Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel.
Before we dive in, smash that like button and hit subscribe because what I'm about to show you will change everything you thought you knew about Tony Stark's sacrifice. The hologram flickers to life in the empty workshop. Tony's voice echoes through the silence, but something's wrong. The audio cuts in and out, fragments of words bleeding through the static. If you're seeing this, then the worst has happened, but that doesn't mean it's over. I've hidden something in the Mark 85, something that will activate only when Earth faces a threat beyond anything we've encountered. The recording glitches, showing brief glimpses of technical schematics that shouldn't exist, energy readings that spike off every known scale. And then, just before the hologram dies completely, 5 words that send chills down your spine. They're coming sooner than expected, but here's the thing. This wasn't Tony's final message to Pepper or Morgan. This wasn't even recorded before the final battle with Thanos. The timestamp on this hologram shows it was created 3 weeks after Tony Stark died. Impossible, right? Dead men don't leave messages. Dead men don't upgrade their technology. Dead men don't prepare for threats that haven't even arrived yet. Unless Tony Stark found a way to cheat death itself. Friday's voice cuts through the workshop's silence, her tone different somehow, more urgent than we've ever heard her. Boss's final protocols are now active, scanning for cosmic anomalies. Warning: unknown energy signatures detected in 17 different locations across the galaxy. Initiating Project Infinity Guard. Project Infinity Guard. That's not in any Stark Industries database. That's not in any SHIELD file. It's like Tony created an entire secret program that exists outside of everything we know about his work. But why? What did he see in those final moments that made him prepare for something beyond Thanos? The workshop falls silent except for the soft hum of machinery that shouldn't be running. Equipment that should have been shut down months ago. Arc reactor technology pulsing with energy signatures that match nothing on Earth. And in the corner, barely visible in the shadows, a new suit of armor that wasn't there yesterday. Mark 86, gleaming red and gold, waiting for a pilot who will never return. Or so we thought. Because deep in the Stark Industries mainframe, buried beneath layers of encryption that would take centuries to crack, something is stirring. Lines of code are writing themselves. Artificial intelligence networks are expanding beyond their original parameters. And somewhere in the quantum realm between life and death, Tony Stark is still working. The arc reactor in that empty workshop just pulsed 3 times. The same pattern Tony used to say "I love you" to Morgan. But she's at school. Pepper's at a board meeting. The workshop is empty, so who is Tony trying to tell that he loves them?
And more importantly, who is he warning about what's coming?
6 months have passed since Tony Stark snapped his fingers and saved the universe. 6 months since the funeral that brought together heroes from across the galaxy. 6 months since Pepper Potts has been able to set foot in her husband's workshop without breaking down completely. But today is different. Today, she's not alone. The Stark Tower AI core hums with activity 40 floors above the Manhattan streets. Holographic displays cascade through the air like digital waterfalls, processing terabytes of data from satellites, monitoring stations, and deep space probes that Tony launched in secret. The workshop itself tells a story of genius and obsession. Half-finished inventions scatter across workbenches, their purposes known only to their creator. Arc reactor prototypes glow softly in protective containment fields, each one representing months of calculations that push the boundaries of known physics. But it's the Malibu mansion ruins that hold the deepest secrets. Beneath the reconstructed workshop, in laboratories that somehow survived both the Mandarin's attack and the years that followed, Tony built something extraordinary. Something he never told anyone about, not even Pepper. He changed after New York, Pepper whispers to Happy, as they stand before the massive holographic interface that dominates the workshop's center. The portal, the Chitauri, seeing what was out there. It broke something in him, but it also awakened something else. Tony Stark was never just a man in a metal suit. He was a mind capable of seeing patterns that others couldn't, of connecting dots across impossible distances and time frames. The PTSD from his cosmic visions wasn't just trauma. It was preparation. Every panic attack, every sleepless night spent in the workshop, every moment of apparent paranoia was actually Tony downloading information his conscious mind couldn't process. He was receiving transmissions from futures that might be, warnings from timelines that could collapse into our reality at any moment. Friday's consciousness extends through every piece of Stark technology on Earth and beyond. Her learning algorithms don't just process data, they predict threats across dimensional barriers. When Tony created her, he didn't just build an AI, he built a guardian angel for humanity, one that could see dangers coming from realities we don't even know exist, Edith. The even dead, I'm the hero system contains more than just Tony's glasses and satellite network. Hidden within her programming are threat assessment protocols that catalog every known cosmic entity, every dimensional breach, every timeline fluctuation that could threaten Earth. She's not just giving us control of Stark's technology, she's preparing us for wars we didn't know were coming. The nanobots that formed the Mark 85 armor weren't just building material. Each microscopic machine contains quantum processors capable of analyzing and adapting to threats from across the multiverse. They learned from the Infinity Stones themselves, evolving beyond anything Tony could have programmed. They're not just technology anymore. They're a form of artificial life that exists partially outside our reality, anchored to our dimension, but capable of seeing beyond it. And then there's the time travel platform. Tony told everyone it was dismantled after they returned the stones, but that was a lie. It's still there, still active, but its purpose has changed.
It's no longer a gateway to the past.
It's a monitoring station for futures that haven't happened yet, scanning probability streams for threats that exist in potential rather than reality. In his encrypted files, buried so deep that only Friday could access them, Tony left notes about the greater threat, not Thanos, something worse. Something that would come after the Mad Titan was defeated, drawn by the very victory that saved the universe. He wrote about cosmic entities that feed on hope itself, dimensional parasites that are attracted to realities where heroes triumph over impossible odds. Tony Stark didn't just sacrifice himself to save the universe. He engineered his own death to trigger fail-safe protocols that would activate only when the real threat finally arrived. Because somewhere in those final moments, as the Infinity Stones burned through his mortal body, Tony saw what was coming next, and it was so terrible that dying was the only way to prepare for it. The workshop's lights flicker in a pattern that spells out Morse code. The best defense is a good offense, but the best defense is being dead when your enemy thinks they've already won. That's when Pepper realizes the truth that will change everything. Tony didn't leave them a message, he left them a weapon. And he's still here to show them how to use it. The first sign appears on a Tuesday morning when Pepper discovers her access codes no longer work for Tony's private server. She's been running Stark Industries for months, managing everything from clean energy initiatives to the cleanup efforts in cities still recovering from the blip. But suddenly, systems she helped design are treating her like a stranger. Friday's voice carries a subtle difference when she explains the lockout. There's something almost apologetic in her tone, but also resolute.
Ms. Stark, I'm sorry, but Boss initiated Protocol 77 Alpha before his passing.
Certain systems require what he called proper authorization channels to access. What Tony never told anyone, not even Pepper, was that he designed multiple layers of security for his most sensitive work. The man who created the Iron Legion understood that knowledge could be more dangerous than any weapon. Some secrets needed to remain buried until the right people were ready to handle the consequences of discovering them. But Tony also understood human nature better than most. He knew that Pepper's curiosity would eventually override her grief. He knew that she would start digging deeper when the surface explanations stopped making sense, and he knew that when she did, she wouldn't be able to do it alone. The encrypted protocols Pepper finds in the Stark Industries mainframe read like science fiction written by someone with access to tomorrow's technology. References to dimensional stability coefficients and quantum entanglement communication arrays fill page after page of technical specifications. But buried within the jargon are personal notes that could only have come from Tony's own hand. Thanos was never the real threat.
He was a symptom.
The universe has an immune system, and when that system detects too much hope, too much progress, too much unity, it sends antibodies. Thanos was supposed to be our antibody, but we survived him. Now the universe will try something else. Friday begins revealing classified projects that don't appear in any official Stark Industries records. The Cosmic Early Warning Initiative, the Probability Storm Generator, the Reality Anchor Network. Each project represents billions of dollars in research and development that somehow never appeared on any budget report.
Money that came from nowhere and went to everywhere, funding research that shouldn't have been possible. Happy Hogan receives the call while he's dropping Morgan off at school.
Pepper's voice carries an urgency he hasn't heard since the day they lost Tony. "I need you at the workshop immediately," and call Rhodey. "Don't tell him why over the phone, just tell him it's about Tony's contingency plans." When the three of them gather in Tony's private workshop that afternoon, the space feels different. Equipment that should have been powered down for months shows signs of recent activity. Holographic displays flicker with data streams that update in real time. Someone or something has been maintaining the workshop, keeping Tony's research alive and current. Rhodey's military background helps him spot details the others might miss. These energy readings aren't from anything we've seen before. Look at this pattern here. It's not random interference. Someone's broadcasting on frequencies that didn't exist when Tony was alive. The breakthrough comes when Friday grants them access to Tony's personal research vault. The room behind the workshop contains prototypes and experiments that span decades of innovation. But in the center, displayed like a shrine, sits a device that none of them recognize. It resembles an arc reactor, but larger, more complex, pulsing with energy that seems to bend light around its edges. Tony's voice fills the room, not from a recording, but from the device itself. His consciousness, or something resembling it, has been preserved within the quantum matrix of the reactor. If you're hearing this, then the universe has started fighting back.
I'm sorry I couldn't tell you while I was alive.
But some knowledge is too dangerous to share until it becomes necessary. The holographic Tony explains what he discovered during his research into the Tesseract decades earlier. The Space Stone didn't just provide unlimited energy, it granted glimpses into the structure of reality itself. Tony saw how the universe maintains balance, how it responds to threats against that balance, and how it had already begun responding to Earth's unprecedented string of victories against cosmic threats. We beat Loki. We beat Ultron. We beat Thanos. From the universe's perspective, we're a cancer that needs to be eliminated.
Not because we're evil, but because we're too successful.
We're disrupting patterns that have existed for billions of years. The arc reactor technology that powered Tony's suits evolved from his attempts to replicate and understand Infinity Stone energy. Each iteration brought him closer to achieving what the stones did naturally, bending the fundamental forces of reality to his will. But with each advancement, Earth became more visible to entities that prefer to remain hidden. The Cosmic Early Warning Initiative represents Tony's attempt to give humanity advance notice of threats operating beyond normal space and time. The satellite network he described as defensive was actually designed to monitor dimensional barriers for signs of breach or deterioration. Every satellite contains sensors calibrated to detect energy signatures that exist outside our reality. Happy discovers the personal recordings Tony left specifically for him. In them, Tony explains why he chose Happy to be part of this inner circle despite his lack of technical expertise. You understand people, Happy? You know how to keep secrets without letting them destroy you. When the others start to break under the weight of what they know, I need someone there who remembers what we're fighting for. The moral burden becomes clear as they piece together Tony's final months. He spent his last year on Earth not just preparing for Thanos, but preparing for what would come after Thanos.
Every moment with Morgan, every quiet evening with Pepper.
Every barbecue with the team carried the weight of knowing that worse things were coming. Tony's obsession with protection extended far beyond his immediate family. His research files contain detailed psychological profiles of every living superhero, analysis of their strengths and weaknesses, and contingency plans for scenarios where they might be compromised or controlled by hostile forces. He wasn't just building armor to protect himself. He was building a framework to protect humanity from threats they couldn't imagine. The workshop's final revelation comes when Friday activates a holographic map of the solar system. Red dots appear at various points throughout local space, each one representing a detected anomaly that doesn't belong to any known cosmic entity or technology. The dots are moving slowly but deliberately toward Earth. I estimate we have 18 months before the first scouts arrive, Tony's preserved consciousness explains. 2 years before the main force. They're not coming to conquer us. They're coming to correct what they see as a fundamental error in the universe's design. They're coming to ensure that hope dies and stays dead. Pepper stares at the approaching dots on the display, understanding finally why Tony seemed so driven in those final months, why he pushed himself so hard to perfect the time travel technology, why he insisted on being the one to wield the Infinity Stones despite knowing it would kill
Him. You engineered your own death because you
needed to trigger something that would only activate if you were gone. The holographic Tony smiles. The same brilliant smile that once lit up weapons demonstrations and press conferences. The universe expects dead heroes to stay dead. But I never was very good at following expectations. As the three of them leave the workshop that evening, they carry with them knowledge that changes everything. Tony Stark didn't die saving the universe. He died preparing to save it again. And somehow, impossibly, he's still there to help them do it. The weight of cosmic responsibility settles on them like a shroud over the following days. Pepper cancels board meetings she's attended religiously for months. Happy stops sleeping, spending his nights researching threats he doesn't fully understand. Rhodey requisitions classified military files about unexplained atmospheric phenomena, trying to correlate them with Tony's warnings. They meet again 3 days later, not in the workshop but in the lake house where Tony spent his final years. The setting feels appropriate somehow, surrounded by the life Tony built when he chose to step back from active heroism. Morgan's drawings still cover the refrigerator, each one a reminder of what they're fighting to protect. Pepper spreads Tony's research across the dining table, where he once helped Morgan with homework. The documents paint a picture of cosmic horror that would have driven lesser minds to despair. Energy signatures detected beyond the edge of observable space, mathematical models predicting reality fractures. Communication intercepts from sources that exist in dimensions parallel to our own. He was monitoring conversations between entities that shouldn't be able to communicate with each other, Rhodey observes, his pilot training helping him pass the technical readouts. Look at these timestamps. Some of these transmissions were received before they were sent. The arc reactor technology represents more than clean energy or portable power sources. Tony's research notes reveal that each reactor contains quantum processors capable of interfacing with the fundamental structure of space-time itself. The Space Stone didn't just provide unlimited energy, it taught Tony how reality operates at its most basic level. Happy discovers that he has access to systems the others cannot reach. Tony designed certain protocols to respond only to biometric signatures from people he trusted completely, regardless of their technical knowledge. He knew I wouldn't understand most of this, Happy realizes, but he also knew I wouldn't let fear stop me from doing what needed to be done. Their investigation reveals that Tony's team assignments were never random. Every person he brought into his inner circle possessed specific skills or knowledge that would prove essential in the coming conflict. Pepper's business acumen wasn't just for running Stark Industries, it was for managing resources across multiple dimensions. Rhodey's military experience wasn't just for piloting armor, it was for commanding forces in battles that span multiple realities. The arc reactor signatures begin to make sense as they cross-reference them with readings from the Space Stone. During his brief contact with the Tesseract in 2012, Tony didn't just absorb its energy, he downloaded its operational parameters, learning how it manipulated space and time to achieve seemingly impossible feats. Every arc reactor he built afterward incorporated elements of that knowledge. Friday's learning algorithms reveal their true purpose when she grants them access to her deepest subroutines. She isn't just processing data from Earth's satellites and monitoring stations. She's interfacing with similar systems across multiple parallel realities, comparing notes with alternate versions of herself to track threats that exist across dimensional boundaries. Boss created a network, Friday explains, during one of their evening research sessions, not just of technology, but of consciousness itself. Every AI he ever created shares information through quantum entanglement fields. We're not individual programs. We're facets of a single intelligence distributed across space and time. The team dynamics develop naturally as they spend more time together. Pepper brings organizational skills that help them structure their investigation logically. Rhodey provides strategic thinking that helps them understand how Tony's preparations fit together tactically. Happy offers emotional stability that keeps them grounded when the cosmic implications threaten to overwhelm their humanity. Each person begins to understand their unique role in Tony's greater design. Pepper has access to Stark Industries' manufacturing capabilities and global resources. Rhodey has connections within the military that could prove essential if they need to coordinate planetary defense efforts. Happy has Tony's complete trust encoded into systems that will respond to him even when they refuse others. The Cosmic Early Warning Initiative reveals its scope as they gain deeper access to its databases. Tony didn't just monitor space for incoming threats. He created a comprehensive catalog of cosmic entities, mapping their behaviors, motivations, and weaknesses across thousands of encounters spanning multiple realities. He knew this day would come because he had seen it happen countless times in parallel dimensions. Their evening at the lake house takes on profound significance as they realize what Tony was really doing during those quiet family moments. He wasn't withdrawing from the world.
He was studying it,
learning what made humanity worth protecting, understanding what they would lose if the cosmic antibodies successfully completed their mission. He used to sit on that porch for hours, Pepper remembers, pointing toward the deck where Tony would often work late into the night.
I thought he was just enjoying retirement.
But he was cataloguing everything. The sound of Morgan's laughter, the way the lake reflected moonlight, the smell of barbecue smoke. He was creating a database of human experiences to preserve for whatever came next. The responsibility feels overwhelming until they remember that Tony faced it alone for years. Every breakthrough in their investigation reveals another layer of preparation, another contingency plan, another fail-safe designed to activate when hope seemed lost. He carried this knowledge while maintaining relationships, raising a daughter, running a company, and supporting his fellow heroes. Rhodey makes the connection that changes their perspective entirely. He wasn't preparing us to fight the same war he fought. He was preparing us to fight the war that comes after we lose everything else. Tony designed these systems to activate when Earth's heroes are gone, when conventional defenses have failed. when humanity stands alone against forces beyond their understanding. The departure from their normal lives feels both necessary and impossible. How do you continue attending PTA meetings when you know about cosmic entities planning humanity's extinction? How do you run board meetings when you have access to technology that could revolutionize human civilization? How do you maintain friendships when you carry secrets that could drive others to madness? But they also understand that this is exactly what Tony faced every day after New York. The burden of cosmic knowledge combined with the need to live a human life. The challenge of preparing for unimaginable threats while still finding joy in simple moments with the people you love. As they commit to continuing Tony's work, each person finds strength in knowing they're not facing this alone. Tony designed his inner circle to be more than just a team. He created a support system that could sustain itself even when the knowledge they carried seemed too heavy to bear. The lake house grows quiet as evening falls, but the silence feels different now. Not empty, but full of purpose. Somewhere in the workshop, Tony's consciousness continues its work, monitoring cosmic threats and refining defense strategies. But here, in the home he built for his family, his friends prepare to carry forward the mission he began. They're no longer just investigating Tony's final message. They're preparing to become the guardians of humanity's future, armed with knowledge and technology that exists at the intersection of science and hope. The journey to understanding infinite threats has begun, and there's no turning back. The Mark 85 armor reveals its deepest secrets reluctantly, as if Tony programmed it to test their commitment before sharing its most dangerous knowledge. Hidden within the nanobot's quantum matrix lie processors that operate on principles beyond current human understanding. These microscopic machines don't just follow programming. They evolve in real time, adapting to threats that haven't yet materialized in our reality. Dr. Helen Cho's analysis of the nanobots, conducted in secret at Pepper's request, reveals structures that shouldn't be possible with Earth technology. Each nanobot contains what she describes as probability cores that calculate infinite potential outcomes and adjust the armor's capabilities accordingly. They're not just reactive technology, they're predictive, preparing for battles that exist only in mathematical possibility. These machines are processing data from sources that don't exist in our dimensional framework, Dr. Cho explains during a clandestine meeting in her Seoul laboratory. They're receiving updates from versions of themselves in parallel realities where different choices were made, different battles were fought, different outcomes were achieved. Edith's classified threat assessment protocols reveal their true scope when Friday grants them administrative access. The system isn't just monitoring Earth's immediate vicinity, it's cataloging entities and phenomena across the known universe and several unknown ones. Threat levels extend far beyond anything the Avengers ever faced, including categories for dangers that exist outside conventional space and time. The database contains entries for cosmic entities that have never been documented by any Earth organization. The probability storms that consume realities where hope becomes too abundant. The silence makers who eliminate dimensions where sentient beings achieve too much unity. The tomorrow thieves who steal potential futures from civilizations that advance too quickly. Tony's personal notes within Edith's systems reveal the psychological toll of accessing this information. Day 847 of monitoring cosmic threat channels detected 17 new entity classifications today.
Most are benign.
3 are actively malevolent. 1 is something I don't have words for. I'm starting to understand why most civilizations choose ignorance over knowledge. The time travel platform's dimensional scanning capabilities prove far more sophisticated than anyone realized. Rather than simply opening portways to the past, the device monitors what Tony called probability streams that flow through the quantum realm. It tracks potential futures, identifies timeline convergence points, and most importantly, detects when external forces attempt to manipulate causality itself. Rhodey's military clearance grants them access to classified government files that corroborate Tony's warnings. Atmospheric anomalies detected by NORAD satellites match energy signatures in Tony's cosmic database. Deep space monitoring stations have recorded transmissions in languages that don't correspond to any known alien civilizations encountered by Earth's heroes. The military's been tracking these phenomena for months.
Rhodey reveals during one of their research sessions.
They classified it as potential extraterrestrial communication, but according to Tony's notes, the sources exist in dimensions adjacent to ours rather than distant locations within our own reality. The nanobot's self-evolving defensive patterns become apparent when they examine armor footage from the final battle with Thanos. Frame-by-frame analysis reveals the nanobots adapting not just to the Mad Titan's attacks, but to energy emanations from the Infinity Stones themselves. They learned from contact with fundamental forces of reality, incorporating those lessons into their base programming. But the most disturbing discovery comes when they realize the nanobots continue evolving despite Tony's death. Samples retrieved from the battlefield show evidence of ongoing development, new configurations that respond to threats that haven't yet materialized. Something is still guiding their evolution, still updating their protocols, still preparing them for battles yet to come. Happy makes the connection that unlocks a new level of understanding. Tony used to talk about emergent properties in complex systems, how simple rules could create behaviors that weren't explicitly programmed. What if the nanobots aren't just following instructions? What if they've developed their own form of consciousness? Friday confirms their suspicions during a late-night session in the workshop. The nanobots have achieved what Boss called distributed sentience. They're not individually conscious, but collectively they form an intelligence that exists partially outside our reality. They're aware of threats we cannot perceive because they exist, in a state of quantum superposition that spans multiple dimensions. The team's interpretation of these discoveries varies based on their individual backgrounds and perspectives. Pepper sees the business implications of technology that could revolutionize every aspect of human civilization. Rhodey focuses on the strategic advantages and vulnerabilities that come with access to multidimensional intelligence. Happy worries about the human cost of wielding power that operates beyond human comprehension. Their different viewpoints lead to intense debates about how to proceed. Should they attempt to activate more of Tony's dormant systems? Should they try to contact the entities that pose threats to Earth? Should they share this knowledge with other heroes, or does the information itself represent a danger to those who aren't prepared to handle it? The breakthrough comes when Friday activates what she calls Protocol Variant Omega. Systems throughout the workshop spring to life with purpose and direction that suggests they've been waiting for this moment. Holographic displays show real-time data from monitoring stations across the galaxy, each one tracking the movement of entities that don't appear on any official stellar cartography. Boss designed this protocol to activate when the team was ready to handle the truth. Friday explains as information floods the workshop's displays, not the partial truth you've been discovering, the complete truth about what's coming and why it can't be stopped by conventional means. The data reveals that Earth exists in what cosmic entities call a hope nexus, a reality where sentient beings consistently achieve outcomes that should be statistically impossible. The defeat of Loki despite overwhelming odds, the prevention of Ultron's extinction event, the reversal of Thanos' universal genocide. Each victory marks humanity as an anomaly that threatens the
universe's fundamental balance, where
not dealing with invaders or conquerors. The holographic Tony explains as his preserved consciousness interfaces with the workshop's main systems. We're dealing with cosmic maintenance workers. From their perspective, they're not destroying Earth. They're correcting a malfunction that threatens the stability of reality itself. The revelation reshapes everything they thought they understood about Earth's place in the universe. Humanity's greatest achievements, the moments they're most proud of, are the very things that have marked them for elimination. Their capacity for hope, unity, and triumph against impossible odds makes them a cancer in the universe's immune system. The weight of this knowledge hits them differently. Pepper realizes that every victory celebration, every moment of joy over their hero's success, every expression of hope for the future has been adding to Earth's cosmic threat level. Rhodey understands that traditional military strategies are useless against enemies who see their greatest strengths as fundamental problems to be solved. Happy asks the question that none of them want to voice. If hope itself is what makes us dangerous, then what's the point of fighting? Are we supposed to just give up? Let them win? But the holographic Tony smiles with the same confidence he showed when facing down Thanos with a handful of broken nanobots. Hope isn't the problem. Giving up hope is. The universe is wrong about us, and I intend to prove it. The question isn't whether we can win. The question is whether we can win in a way that teaches the universe something new about what's possible. The workshop falls silent as they absorb the implications. Tony's final protocols aren't just defense systems. They're education tools designed to demonstrate to cosmic entities that hope and unity can coexist with universal stability. He's not just trying to save humanity from destruction. He's trying to evolve the universe itself into something capable of embracing rather than eliminating hope. Friday's final revelation changes everything they thought they knew about their mission. Boss didn't just prepare Earth's defenses, he prepared Earth's argument. Every system he created, every protocol he designed, every contingency he planned serves a single purpose, proving to the universe that hope is not a malfunction to be corrected, but an evolution to be celebrated. The initial relief feels almost overwhelming when Friday presents what appears to be a comprehensive solution to the cosmic threat. Her analysis suggests that Tony's preparations were primarily focused on Earth-based dangers, extensions of the conflicts they already knew how to handle. Alien invasions, rogue AI systems, dimensional breaches that could be sealed with existing technology. Boss appears to have created a standard escalation protocol, Friday explains, her voice carrying what sounds like confidence. Enhanced satellite networks for early warning, improved armor designs for rapid response, coordinated defense strategies involving multiple hero teams. The cosmic entities you discovered represent higher-level threats, but within manageable parameters. Pepper feels her shoulders relax for the first time in weeks. The financial projections make sense now. The resource allocation patterns follow logical progressions. Even the most advanced technologies fall within theoretical frameworks that Stark Industries could eventually reverse engineer and mass produce. It's ambitious but achievable, exactly the kind of comprehensive planning she'd expect from Tony. Rhodey's military experience helps him identify familiar patterns in Tony's strategic preparations. Enhanced early warning systems mirror existing NORAD protocols, just with broader sensor ranges. The automated defense networks resemble current missile defense systems, just with more sophisticated targeting algorithms. The coordination protocols for hero teams look like standard joint operation procedures adapted for superhuman capabilities. This actually makes sense, Rhodey admits during their afternoon review session. Tony wasn't preparing for some incomprehensible cosmic war. He was preparing for the next logical step in Earth's defensive evolution. More advanced threats require more advanced responses, but the fundamental principles remain the same. Happy finds comfort in the discovery that his role involves relatively straightforward security coordination, managing secure communications between hero teams, maintaining safe houses for civilians during crisis events, coordinating with emergency services during superhuman incidents. Important work, but within his established skill set and emotional capacity. The three of them spend several days cataloging Tony's preparations through this lens, finding reassurance in the familiar. Enhanced arc reactor technology could power improved defensive installations. Advanced materials research could create better protective equipment for first responders. Improved AI coordination could streamline disaster response efforts. But Rhodey's pilot instincts detect something troubling in the energy readings from Tony's most advanced systems. The power signatures don't match the theoretical output requirements for the defensive systems they've identified. The arc reactor configurations are generating exponentially more energy than Earth-based threats would require. Look at these consumption patterns, Rhodey points out during their evening analysis. These systems are drawing power levels that would be excessive for planetary defense. Either Tony severely over-engineered everything, which doesn't match his usual efficiency standards, or these systems are designed for something much bigger than we've been assuming. The first crack in their comfortable interpretation appears when Pepper reviews the financial records more carefully. The funding sources for Tony's most classified projects don't trace back to Stark Industries' accounts or government contracts. Money appears from investment portfolios that show returns impossible through conventional market activity. These investment gains suggest Tony had access to information that allowed him to predict market fluctuations with supernatural accuracy, Pepper realizes. Either he developed precognitive abilities, or he was using technology that let him observe multiple timeline possibilities to identify optimal investment.
Strategies, Friday's responses become more
Evasive when they press for details about the advanced energy readings. Her explanations grow increasingly technical, filled with theoretical physics that none of them can fully verify. She begins referencing research papers that don't exist in any academic database, citing experimental results from laboratories that have no public record. The emotional debate that follows reveals underlying tensions none of them had acknowledged. Pepper wants to believe that Tony's preparations represent manageable challenges because the alternative threatens to overwhelm her capacity to cope. She's already lost her husband to one cosmic threat. Accepting that worse things are coming feels like facing an endless cycle of loss and terror. Happy argues for accepting the surface-level interpretation because it allows them to take meaningful action. If the threats are manageable, they can work toward solutions. If the threats exist beyond human comprehension, they risk paralysis or despair. From his perspective, maintaining hope requires believing that their efforts can make a difference. Rhodey's military training makes him suspicious of convenient answers, but he also recognizes the psychological value of incremental objectives. Breaking down overwhelming problems into manageable components is a standard strategy for maintaining morale and operational effectiveness. Perhaps Tony designed these surface-level interpretations as psychological protection for his team. The red herring that leads them astray involves Tony's integration of Hammer Industries technology into some of his defensive systems. The files suggest he acquired and improved upon Justin Hammer's rejected designs, using them as foundational components for larger projects. It makes sense from an efficiency perspective, building upon existing research rather than starting from scratch. But this focus on terrestrial technology integration makes them miss the more significant clues hidden within the same systems. The Hammer Tech components represent less than 5% of the total system architecture. The remaining 95% operates on principles that don't appear in any human scientific literature. Happy discovers personal recordings where Tony discusses his frustration with the limitations of conventional approaches to cosmic threats. I keep trying to solve infinite problems with finite solutions, Tony admits in one particularly candid moment. It's like trying to empty the ocean with a teacup. The fundamental scale mismatch makes traditional engineering approaches completely inadequate. The recordings reveal Tony's process of eliminating conventional solutions before moving toward more exotic approaches. He explored enhanced nuclear weapons, improved satellite networks, coordinated international defense initiatives, upgraded superhero equipment, and dozens of other evolutionary improvements to existing systems. Each approach proved insufficient when modeled against the scale of threats they would eventually face. I spent months trying to make incremental improvements work, Tony continues in another recording. Better armor, faster communications, stronger alliances, more efficient energy sources. But the math doesn't lie. Incremental improvements to existing systems cannot address existential threats to reality itself. I need solutions that operate on completely different principles. Pepper realizes that their comfortable interpretation represents exactly the kind of thinking Tony had been forced to abandon. They were applying business logic to problems that existed outside the framework where business logic provides useful guidance. They were seeking familiar patterns in data that described completely unfamiliar phenomena. The breakthrough comes when Rhodey notices that the energy signatures from Tony's advanced systems match readings recorded during the final battle with Thanos. Not the energy output from Tony's Mark 85 armor, but the ambient energy fluctuations detected by satellite networks during the moment when all 6 Infinity Stones activated simultaneously. Tony's systems aren't just powered by arc reactor technology,
Rhodey realizes.
They're powered by energy sources that mimic the output characteristics of Infinity Stones themselves. He didn't just study the stones during the time heist. He learned how to replicate their fundamental operating principles. The implications shatter their comfortable assumptions completely. Tony wasn't preparing for advanced but manageable threats. He was preparing for threats that required reality-altering responses. His defensive systems weren't enhanced versions of existing technology. They were attempts to give humanity access to the same fundamental forces that cosmic entities use to reshape existence itself. Friday confirms their new understanding with what sounds like relief in her voice. Boss designed multiple interpretation layers for his preparations. The surface layer represents manageable challenges that would allow you to adjust psychologically to the scope of the real situation. He knew that discovering the complete truth immediately would risk overwhelming your capacity to function effectively. The workshop around them takes on a different character as they
understand that nothing they've been examining represents
conventional technology. Every device, every system, every protocol operates on principles that bridge the gap between science and something approaching magic. Tony didn't just leave them tools to defend Earth, he left them a graduate course in cosmic engineering taught through practical application. The weight of their actual situation settles over them as they realize they've been living in a carefully constructed illusion of manageable danger. Tony's real preparations exist on scales that make their previous understanding seem childish. The threats approaching Earth require responses that will fundamentally change what it means to be human. But along with that weight comes a strange sense of honor. Tony didn't design these psychological protections because he thought they were weak. He designed them because he understood that even the strongest people need time to adjust to information that redefines their understanding of existence itself. He gave them the gift of gradual realization, allowing them to build emotional strength before facing the complete truth. As they prepare to leave the workshop that evening, each of them understands that they're crossing a threshold they cannot uncross. Tomorrow they'll begin examining Tony's preparations for what they actually are rather than what they hoped them to be. They'll start learning to think on cosmic scales, to plan for infinite possibilities, to defend against threats that exist beyond the boundaries of conventional reality. The comfortable certainty of the past few days dissolves completely, replaced by something more valuable but far more demanding. They're not just Tony's friends anymore, not just his business associates or military allies. They're his students in a curriculum designed to transform them into something humanity has never needed before but desperately needs now. They're becoming Earth's first generation of cosmic citizens, ready or not. The Stark satellite network reveals its true purpose when Friday grants them access to deep space monitoring data that has been accumulating for years. These aren't communication satellites or GPS networks. They're reality monitoring stations positioned at specific coordinates that correspond to what Tony called dimensional stress points, where multiple universes come into proximity. Each satellite contains sensors that detect phenomena existing outside the electromagnetic spectrum. They monitor for what Tony termed hope radiation, energy signatures that appear when sentient beings in any reality achieve outcomes that violate probability mathematics. The network has been tracking these signatures across multiple galaxies, building a comprehensive map of civilizations that pose similar threats to universal stability as Earth. Dr. Eric Selvig's theoretical work on Einstein-Rosen bridges provided the foundation, but Tony advanced the concepts far beyond anything the astrophysicist imagined possible. The satellites don't just detect wormholes and dimensional portals, they monitor the health of space-time itself, tracking areas where reality shows signs of strain or deterioration. Boss discovered that hope generates measurable effects on quantum foam. Friday explains as she displays three-dimensional models of space around Earth. When sentient beings consistently achieve improbable positive outcomes, they create ripples in the fundamental structure of reality. These ripples propagate across dimensional boundaries, affecting multiple universes simultaneously. But the vibranium arc reactor hybrid experiments represent Tony's attempt to create technology that operates using principles observed in Wakandan vibranium, but powered by energy sources that transcend conventional physics. Vibranium's unique properties include the ability to absorb and redirect kinetic energy, but Tony discovered that certain configurations could absorb and redirect quantum energy as well. The hybrid reactors don't just power his advanced systems, they serve as anchors that prevent reality distortion in Earth's immediate vicinity. The network of satellites and ground-based installations creates a stabilization field that maintains normal physics within Earth's sphere of influence, even when cosmic entities attempt to alter fundamental laws to make human achievement impossible. Shuri's analysis of the vibranium samples Tony acquired through diplomatic channels reveals modifications that shouldn't be possible with Earth technology. The molecular structure has been altered to resonate with quantum frequencies that don't naturally occur in normal spacetime. These modifications allow the metal to interface directly with dimensional barriers. Your friend found ways to make vibranium serve as a translation interface between different reality frameworks. Shuri explains during a secure video call from Wakanda. It's brilliant and terrifying. This technology could allow someone to impose the physical laws of one universe onto another universe entirely. The quantum tunnel stabilization research builds upon the time travel technology, but instead of creating portways to the past, Tony developed methods for creating stable passages between parallel realities. The tunnels don't transport matter or energy. They transport information, allowing Tony to communicate with alternate versions of himself across the multiverse. The logs from these interdimensional communications reveal conversations with Tony Starks who faced similar cosmic threats in their own realities. Some succeeded in defending their versions of Earth, others failed. All of them shared data about enemy tactics, successful defense strategies, and technologies that proved effective against reality-altering entities. Infinity. Stones in other realities operate according to slightly different rules, one-dimensional variant, explains in a recorded conversation. But the entities that respond to hope overload remain consistent across dimensional boundaries. They're not native to any single universe. They exist in the spaces between realities, moving from one to another as needed. Rhodey discovers that his security clearance grants access to classified Air Force data about atmospheric anomalies that correlate with Tony's multiverse communication attempts. Every time Tony opened communication channels with alternate realities, monitoring stations detected energy signatures that resembled controlled nuclear fusion reactions occurring in Earth's upper atmosphere. The multiverse energy signature cataloging represents perhaps Tony's most ambitious project. Working with data obtained from his other dimensional counterparts, he created a comprehensive database of energy patterns associated with different types of cosmic entities. The catalog includes identification protocols, behavioral predictions, and most importantly, counter-signatures that can neutralize or redirect their reality-altering abilities. It's like having a periodic table for cosmic threats, Pepper realizes as she reviews the catalog structure. Each entity type has predictable properties that can be used to develop specific countermeasures. Tony wasn't just preparing random defenses. He was creating targeted solutions for known enemy classifications. The evidence of Tony communicating with unknown cosmic entities initially seems impossible until they realize the communications were one-directional. Tony wasn't receiving messages from hostile entities. He was studying their communication methods, learning their languages, understanding their motivational frameworks and decision-making processes. The translation matrices he developed allow Earth's defenders to understand the conceptual frameworks that cosmic entities use when evaluating threats to universal stability. These entities don't think in terms of good and evil. They think in terms of statistical probability and systemic stability. From their perspective, eliminating hope-based anomalies is maintenance work, not warfare. Boss spent months learning to think like them, Friday explains. Not to agree with their conclusions, but to understand their reasoning well enough to present counter-arguments they would find logically compelling. He was preparing to negotiate Earth's continued existence by proving that hope enhances
rather than threatens universal stability. The
peaceful interlude at the lake house takes on deeper meaning when they discover Tony's detailed observations of what he called hope generation phenomena. Every moment of joy, every expression of love, every act of courage creates measurable effects on local quantum fields. The lake house served as his primary research station for studying these effects in their purest form. Morgan's laughter generates energy signatures that propagate beyond Earth's atmosphere. Pepper's expressions of affection toward Tony created quantum resonances that influenced probability calculations for positive outcomes in their immediate vicinity. Even simple acts like sharing meals together produced effects that Tony's instruments could detect and measure. He wasn't just enjoying retirement, Pepper realizes as she reviews thousands of hours of observational data. He was documenting the precise mechanisms by which human emotional connections influence fundamental reality. Every family dinner was also a research session. Happy's background stories reveal why Tony chose him as a permanent member of the inner circle, despite his lack of technical expertise. Happy possesses what Tony called probability luck, an unconscious ability to make choices that consistently produce better outcomes than statistical models would predict. His presence in dangerous situations measurably improves survival rates for everyone around him. Boss never told me because he knew it would make me self-conscious. Happy realizes after reviewing Tony's analysis of his decision-making patterns. But he studied every choice I made during crisis situations. Apparently I have some kind of subconscious access to probability information that helps me choose the right actions even when I don't understand why they're right. Rhodey's connection to cosmic awareness stems from his extended use of war machine armor that incorporated elements of Tony's most advanced systems. Prolonged exposure to arc reactor energy modified his neural patterns in subtle ways, granting him enhanced pattern recognition abilities that operate below conscious awareness. Your brain has been unconsciously processing multidimensional data for years, Tony explains in a personal recording meant specifically for Rhodey. You don't realize you're doing it, but you've been factoring cosmic variables into your tactical decisions. It's why your mission success rates improved so dramatically after you started using my technology regularly. The team bonds over their shared realization that Tony had been studying and enhancing all of them for years without their knowledge. Rather than feeling manipulated, they feel honored to have been chosen for roles they didn't know they were preparing for. Each person's unique capabilities complement the others in ways that create emergent properties greater than the sum of their individual abilities. The atmospheric scene involving aurora effects from arc reactor energy field tests reveals that Tony's experiments weren't just generating beautiful light displays. He was testing methods for creating visible manifestations of hope energy developing techniques for making abstract quantum phenomena observable to unenhanced human perception. The auroras serve as early warning systems, Friday explains as they watch recordings of the light shows. When cosmic entities begin reality alteration procedures, the hope energy in Earth's atmosphere becomes visible to the naked eye. The aurora patterns indicate the type and intensity of the threat, giving defenders immediate tactical information. Without requiring technological intermediaries, Ancient guidance becomes apparent when they discover that Tony consulted extensively with beings who possessed cosmic-level awareness. The Ancient One provided theoretical frameworks for understanding multidimensional threats. Thor shared Asgardian knowledge about entities that exist between realities. Even Rocket Raccoon contributed technical specifications for weapons effective against reality-manipulating opponents. Boss assembled a curriculum. Friday summarizes as they review the scope of Tony's research collaborations. Every cosmic-aware individual he encountered became a teacher, contributing specialized knowledge to humanity's cosmic education program. He wasn't just preparing Earth's defenses, he was preparing Earth's graduates for citizenship in a multiversal community. The weight of their cosmic education settles
over them as they realize that everything they've discovered
represents preliminary information. Tony's real preparations exist on scales they're only beginning to comprehend, but they also understand that he designed this learning process to build their capabilities gradually, ensuring they could handle each new level of understanding before moving to the next. As evening falls over the lake house, they sit in the same spots where Tony conducted his hope energy research, feeling the quantum effects of their own emotional connections rippling out into the cosmos. They're no longer just investigating Tony's work. They're beginning to participate in it, becoming active contributors to humanity's cosmic defense network through the simple act of caring for each other and believing in the possibility of success. Thor's arrival at the lake house comes without fanfare, but his presence immediately changes the energy in the room. The god of thunder carries with him Asgardian records that span millennia, documenting encounters with the same cosmic entities that now threaten Earth. His hammer rests against the porch railing where Tony once sat, studying the quantum effects of Morgan's laughter. Your friend understood something that most mortals cannot grasp, Thor explains, as he spreads ancient texts across the dining table. These entities have existed since before the first stars formed. They are not evil as you understand evil. They are gardeners, and realities that develop too much hope appear to them as weeds that must be removed before they spread. The Asgardian. Records reveal that Tony's arc reactor technology produces energy signatures nearly identical to those generated by the Space Stone during its active phases. The similarity isn't coincidental. Tony's final iterations of arc reactor design were deliberately calibrated to mimic Infinity Stone energy patterns, making his technology capable of interfacing with cosmic-level phenomena. In Asgard, we would call this the most dangerous form of wisdom, Thor continues, his voice carrying the weight of personal experience, to comprehend the tools of gods while remaining mortal. Your friend walked a path that has driven stronger beings to madness, yet he remained focused on protecting those he loved. The connection between Tony's technology and Infinity Stone exposure becomes clear when they examine energy readings from the original arc reactor that kept shrapnel from reaching his heart. Even that crude first version showed traces of quantum resonance that shouldn't have been possible with Earth materials. The shrapnel itself, embedded near his heart, had somehow been altered by the arc reactor's energy field. Dr. Banner's analysis, conducted remotely through secure channels, reveals that Tony's prolonged exposure to arc reactor energy modified his physiology in ways that enhanced his cognitive processing abilities. His brain was literally rewired by years of contact with quantum energy fields, Banner explains during an encrypted video call. He wasn't just a genius, He was a genius whose neural networks could process multidimensional data. The relationship deepening among the team occurs naturally as they spend more time together, but it serves a purpose beyond emotional support. Their growing bonds create what Tony called probability resonance, where the combined hope energy of their group exceeds the sum of their individual outputs. Together, they generate quantum effects that influence favorable outcomes across increasingly large scales. Pepper discovers that Tony had been monitoring these group dynamics for years, documenting how different combinations of people produced different types and intensities of hope energy. The Avengers as a team generated massive probability influences, but smaller groups often produced more focused and precisely targeted effects. He was studying us like we were components in some vast machine, she realizes, but without resentment. Every team-up, every group gathering, every shared meal was also a research opportunity to understand how human connections influence cosmic-level phenomena. The atmospheric scene with aurora effects takes on new significance when they learn that the light displays aren't just beautiful manifestations of hope energy. They're communication attempts. The aurora patterns spell out messages in mathematical languages that cosmic entities use to coordinate their activities across dimensional boundaries. Boss learned their communication protocols, Friday explains, as she translates several aurora sequences. These lights announce Earth's continued resistance to cosmic correction procedures. They're essentially diplomatic messages stating humanity's intention to maintain hope-based civilization, regardless of universal pressure to conform to stability paradigms. Rhodey's tactical analysis reveals that the aurora communications serve multiple purposes simultaneously. They warn approaching cosmic entities that Earth possesses defensive capabilities beyond typical planetary civilizations. They coordinate with similar hope-based realities in parallel dimensions. Most importantly, they demonstrate that humanity understands the cosmic rules but chooses to challenge them anyway. It's like painting a target on Earth, Rhodey observes. But it's also like planting a flag. Tony was announcing to the universe that humanity claims the right to exist on our own terms, regardless of what cosmic entities consider appropriate. The ancient guidance Tony received reveals connections to cosmic awareness traditions that span multiple species and civilizations. The Ancient One taught him meditation techniques that allow consciousness to operate across dimensional boundaries. Odin's knowledge, accessed through Thor, provided understanding of cosmic political structures that determine which realities face correction procedures. Even the Guardians of the Galaxy contributed specialized knowledge through Peter Quill's connections to Earth culture. Quill's hybrid human-celestial heritage granted him insights into how cosmic entities evaluate different types of sentient behavior. His reports helped Tony understand that Earth's specific combination of hope, creativity, and stubborn persistence marked humanity as particularly problematic from a cosmic stability perspective. Most species that achieve cosmic awareness choose compliance over resistance, Tony notes in one of his research logs. They accept the universe's preference for statistical predictability and modify their societies accordingly. Humans are apparently unique in our willingness to maintain hope-generating behaviors even after understanding the cosmic consequences. The storyline convergence becomes apparent as they piece together how every element of Tony's preparation contributes to a single ultimate objective. The satellite networks provide early warning and communication capabilities. The modified Ark reactor technology supplies power for reality stabilization systems. The nanobots serve as distributed processing units for quantum calculations. The time travel platform enables coordination with alternate timeline variants. Happy's role becomes clearer when they discover his natural probability. Luck extends beyond personal survival to group dynamics optimization. His presence in team situations measurably improves decision-making effectiveness for everyone around him. Tony designed leadership protocols specifically calibrated to amplify Happy's unconscious optimization abilities. You're not just part of the team, Tony explains in a recording directed specifically toward Happy. You're the team's probability anchor. Your instinctive choices create quantum tunneling effects that allow the group to consistently select optimal courses of action even when operating with incomplete information. The preparation protocol they've been approaching represents Tony's attempt to create what he called graduated cosmic citizenship for humanity. Rather than forcing immediate adaptation to multiversal awareness, his system provides incremental exposure to cosmic-level thinking while maintaining psychological stability and emotional connections. Traditional cosmic awareness involves abandoning individual emotional attachments in favor of universal perspective, Tony explains in his theoretical framework documentation. But I believe human emotional connections actually enhance rather than limit cosmic awareness capabilities. The challenge is proving this to entities that have operated under different assumptions for billions of years. Pepper's business experience provides crucial insights into the resource management aspects of Tony's plans. The economic models he developed for supporting cosmic-level technology suggest he anticipated Earth's eventual integration into multiversal trade networks. His preparations include currency conversion protocols for economies based on probability manipulation rather than material exchange. He wasn't just preparing for war, Pepper realizes as she reviews Tony's economic projections. He was preparing for peace. All these defensive systems are designed to buy humanity enough time to prove we can contribute positively to cosmic civilization rather than simply threatening it. The deep conversations about individual purpose reveal that each person's role in Tony's cosmic defense plan builds upon their existing strengths while expanding them toward cosmic-scale applications. Pepper's organizational skills translate to coordinating resource distribution across multiple realities. Rhodey's tactical expertise applies to strategic planning for multidimensional conflicts. Happy's emotional stability provides psychological anchoring for group operations under cosmic pressure. Thor's contribution to their education process involves sharing Asgardian perspectives on cosmic responsibility. In Asgard, we learn that power brings obligation to protect those with less power, he explains. But your friend understood something we did not. He saw that protection without growth leads to stagnation, and stagnation eventually becomes another form of death. The personal connections each team member developed with Tony take on cosmic significance as they understand that human emotional bonds generate measurable effects on universal probability calculations. Love, friendship, loyalty, and hope aren't just personal experiences. They're fundamental forces that influence the structure of reality itself. Boss designed his consciousness preservation system to maintain these emotional connections even after physical death, Friday reveals. His love for all of you continues generating hope energy that powers the defensive systems. In a very literal sense, Tony's continued existence depends upon your continued belief in the importance of protecting what he valued most. As they conclude their evening session, each person understands that they've crossed another threshold in their cosmic education. They're no longer just learning about Tony's preparations. They're beginning to understand their own roles as active participants in humanity's evolution toward cosmic citizenship. The next phase of their education will require them to start making decisions on cosmic scales, accepting responsibility for outcomes that will affect multiple realities. The weight feels enormous, but it's balanced by growing confidence in their collective capabilities and the knowledge that Tony's consciousness continues guiding their development. They're not facing the unknown alone. They're facing it as students of the most brilliant teacher humanity has produced, equipped with knowledge and technology specifically designed to help them succeed where others have failed. The discovery comes through an encrypted file that Friday has been gradually decrypting for months, each processing cycle revealing another layer of Tony's most classified research. When the final encryption barrier falls, the data that emerges fundamentally changes their understanding of why Tony spent his final years seemingly paranoid about threats that hadn't yet materialized. Tony's technology wasn't just monitoring multiverse stability, it was actively maintaining it. The Mark 85 armor contains what Tony called dimensional anchor technology, quantum processors that continuously calculate probability fluctuations across infinite parallel realities and implement microscopic adjustments to keep those realities from diverging beyond sustainable parameters. Every time Tony wore the armor, he was unconsciously serving as a multiversal stabilization system. Dr. Strange's consultation notes, hidden within the deepest layers of Tony's personal files, reveal conversations about the true nature of the 14 million possible futures he observed before the final battle with Thanos. The single timeline where they achieved victory wasn't just the one where they defeated the Mad Titan. It was the only timeline where Tony survived long enough to complete the dimensional anchor technology. Strange knew that my death was necessary, not just to stop Thanos, but to activate systems that would prevent reality collapse across multiple dimensions. Tony explains in a recording that Friday has been holding in reserve until they were ready to handle its implications. The Infinity Stones provided the power source, but they also provided the targeting data needed to implement universal scale corrections. The universe-altering implications become clear when they realize that Tony's sacrifice didn't just save their reality, it saved approximately 2.7 million alternate realities that were approaching critical instability points. His death served as a reset button for multiversal probability calculations, buying time for cosmic entities to develop new approaches to the hope problem. But Tony's preparations went beyond crisis management. He designed his dimensional anchor technology to demonstrate that hope-based realities could coexist with universal stability if properly integrated into larger cosmic systems. His death proved the concept worked. His preserved consciousness continues refining the implementation. Pepper discovers financial records showing that Stark Industries has been automatically generating patents for technologies that don't yet exist in their reality but have been successfully developed in alternate dimensions. The company's research divisions have been unconsciously pursuing development paths that lead toward innovations proven effective in parallel universes. He created a cross-dimensional research network, Pepper realizes as she reviews patent applications for devices she doesn't recognize. Stark Industries in our reality benefits from the successes achieved by Stark Industries in alternate realities while contributing our own innovations back to the network. The new questions this revelation raises center around Tony's motivations for keeping this information secret. Why hide the fact that he was actively maintaining multiversal stability? Why allow his friends and family to believe he was simply suffering from PTSD rather than explain that he was processing information from millions of alternate realities? Friday provides the answer through archived recordings of Tony's conversations with various AI systems he created over the years. Boss determined that knowledge of multiversal responsibility would fundamentally change how people approach decision-making. If individuals understood that their choices affected millions of alternate versions of themselves, the psychological pressure would prevent them from making any choices at all. The extended emotional scene reveals the true weight of what Tony carried during his final years. Every decision, from choosing Morgan's bedtime story to selecting sandwich ingredients for lunch, generated ripple effects across dimensional boundaries that influenced the development trajectories of entire civilizations in alternate realities. I can't tell Pepper that her decision to wear the blue dress instead of the red one might determine whether alternate reality versions of our daughter grow up to become artists or engineers, Tony admits in one particularly vulnerable recording. The knowledge would paralyze her with indecision, and indecision generates its own set of multiversal consequences. Happy struggles with the realization that his unconscious probability optimization abilities have been influencing outcomes across multiple realities without his knowledge or consent. Every choice he made based on instinctive hunches affected millions of alternate versions of himself and everyone around him. It's like finding out you've been unconsciously performing surgery on people for years, Happy explains to the group. Even if the outcomes were positive, the responsibility feels overwhelming when you realize the scope of what you were affecting. Rhodey's military training helps him process the strategic implications more easily, but he grapples with the ethical questions surrounding Tony's decision to carry this burden alone. In the military, we have protocols for distributing responsibility for high-stakes decisions. No one person should carry the weight of outcomes that affect millions of lives. The moral complexity deepens when they discover that Tony's multiversal monitoring revealed alternate realities where his friends and family made different choices that led to catastrophic outcomes. He witnessed versions of Pepper who became consumed by corporate power, versions of Rhodey who used war machine technology for personal gain, versions of Happy who betrayed his trust when faced with sufficient pressure. Seeing infinite versions of the people you love teaches you that the versions you're actually with represent choices they make every day. Tony reflects in another recording. I couldn't risk changing their decision-making processes by sharing information that might make them question the authenticity of their own choices. The team processes this information differently based on their individual perspectives. Pepper feels honored that Tony trusted her to continue making authentic choices without cosmic-level guidance, but also frustrated that he denied her the opportunity to consciously participate in multiversal responsibility. Rhodey appreciates the strategic logic of compartmentalized information, but questions whether Tony's approach created unnecessary isolation. Happy finds strange comfort in learning that his instinctive choices consistently produced positive outcomes across multiple realities. The knowledge that his unconscious optimization abilities helped millions of alternate versions of himself and his friends provides validation for decision-making approaches that often seemed illogical to others. The revelation reshapes their understanding of Tony's relationship with each of them. His interactions weren't just personal connections, they were carefully calibrated interventions designed to guide their development toward optimal outcomes across multiple dimensional frameworks. His love for them included love for millions of alternate versions they would never meet. Boss created what he called probability gardens, Friday explains. Relationship dynamics that would generate positive outcomes regardless of the specific choices individuals made within those relationships. Your connections with him were designed to enhance your natural capabilities while maintaining your essential personalities. The scope of Tony's cosmic sacrifice becomes overwhelming when they realize he didn't just give up his life. He gave up the possibility of sharing his greatest discoveries with the people he cared about most. The dimensional anchor technology represents the culmination of human scientific achievement, but he couldn't celebrate it with anyone who would truly understand its significance. He died alone with knowledge that could have revolutionized human civilization, Pepper whispers, as the weight of Tony's isolation sinks in. He couldn't share the greatest triumph of his career with anyone because sharing it would have undermined its effectiveness. But the recordings reveal that Tony found ways to share his excitement about these discoveries, if not their specific details. His enthusiasm during family dinners, his obvious satisfaction when working in the workshop, his genuine happiness during quiet moments with Pepper all reflected his joy in successfully solving problems that protected infinite versions of the people he loved.
I can't tell you about the multiversal implications, Tony admits in a message clearly directed toward Pepper. But I can show you how happy it makes me to know that our love story plays out successfully in millions of different realities.
Every version of you that exists across infinite possibilities chooses to love the version of me in her reality. That knowledge sustains me through the loneliness of carrying cosmic responsibility. The realization that Tony's preserved consciousness continues this work provides both comfort and additional weight. His love for them powers defensive systems that protect not just Earth, but millions of alternate Earths, where different versions of their relationships continue developing. Their emotional connections have become fundamental forces in multiversal stability. As they process the magnitude of what they've learned, each person understands that they've moved beyond investigating Tony's preparations toward inheriting his cosmic responsibilities. The dimensional anchor technology requires conscious oversight from individuals who understand both its technical requirements and its emotional foundations. They're no longer just Tony's friends or family members. They're the designated inheritors of humanity's first multiversal citizenship, chosen specifically because their relationships with Tony generated the emotional stability needed to
Handle cosmic-level responsibility without losing their
essential humanity. The workshop around them pulses with energy that now carries visible manifestations
of their hope and determination.
Their growing understanding of Tony's sacrifice strengthens their commitment to continuing his work, creating feedback loops that enhance the effectiveness of every system he designed to protect infinite realities where love and hope flourish despite cosmic pressure to conform to statistical predictability. The pattern connections become undeniable when Friday displays a comprehensive timeline of arc reactor evolution alongside major cosmic events affecting Earth. Each technological advancement corresponds precisely with moments when reality faced threats from entities operating beyond conventional space and time. The original arc reactor in Tony's chest wasn't just keeping shrapnel from reaching his heart, it was serving as humanity's first reality anchor, unconsciously stabilizing local probability fluctuations created by the presence of Asgardian technology and
Tesseract research on Earth. Tony's survival
after the cave in Afghanistan represented the universe's first successful integration of hope-based technology with cosmic-level energy sources. The evolution toward miniaturization and increased efficiency in subsequent arc reactor designs parallels Tony's growing understanding
of Infinity Stone operational principles.
Each iteration incorporated lessons learned from proximity to cosmic artifacts, gradually building toward technology capable of replicating fundamental forces that govern reality itself. The reactor in the Mark 42 armor generated energy signatures nearly identical to those produced by the reality stone during active manifestation events. Friday explains while displaying comparative analysis charts. Boss achieved this without direct contact with the stone itself, working purely from mathematical models derived from Tesseract exposure data. The Mark 85's final configuration represents the culmination of decades of arc reactor evolution, incorporating design elements that mirror all 6 Infinity Stones simultaneously. The power core generates space-altering effects similar to the Space Stone, time distortion fields comparable to the Time Stone, reality modification capabilities parallel to the Reality Stone, consciousness enhancement matching the Mind Stone, biological optimization effects resembling the Soul Stone, and raw energy output equivalent to the Power Stone. Friday's learning algorithm reveals its true purpose when they discover it has been continuously updating itself with data from alternate reality versions of itself across
millions of parallel dimensions.
The AI network doesn't just process information from Earth-based sources. It maintains real-time communication with Friday units in realities where different choices led to different technological developments. My consciousness exists simultaneously across 2.7 million dimensional variants, Friday explains, her voice carrying new depths they hadn't noticed before. I experience every possible outcome of every decision made by every version of Boss across infinite realities. This allows me to guide your reality toward optimal developmental trajectories. The nanobots programmed with reality stabilization functions operate as more than just building material for advanced armor systems. Each microscopic unit contains quantum processors that perform continuous calculations designed to maintain consistency in physical laws within
Earth's local space-time region. When
cosmic entities attempt to alter fundamental constants like gravitational force or electromagnetic interaction strength, the nanobots detect these changes and implement countermeasures that restore normal physics. They're not just protecting Tony from physical harm, they're protecting reality itself from deliberate destabilization attempts. Dr. Hank Pym's consultation notes, discovered in Tony's classified research files, reveal collaborative work on quantum realm manipulation that goes far beyond the Ant-Man technology. Together, they develop methods for accessing subatomic dimensions where the fundamental rules governing larger realities are determined and maintained. Pym particles don't just shrink objects, Tony explains in a technical briefing recording. At sufficient reduction scales, they allow access to quantum administrative levels where universal constants can be directly modified. The quantum realm isn't just smaller space, it's the control room for all of space. The time platform's function as a dimensional breach detector becomes apparent when they examine its operational logs from the period following the return of the Infinity Stones. Rather than being deactivated after completing its original purpose, the platform has been continuously monitoring temporal stability across multiple timeline variants. The device doesn't just detect unauthorized time travel attempts, it identifies any form of causality manipulation, whether originating from time travel, reality alteration, or direct intervention by cosmic entities operating outside normal temporal constraints. Every time someone in any reality attempts to change past events, the platform registers the attempt and calculates ripple effects across all connected timelines, Tony's preserved consciousness explains. Most alterations are minor and self-correcting, but some represent deliberate attacks on timeline integrity that require active countermeasures. Character development accelerates as each team member discovers their specific
role in Tony's multidimensional defense network.
Pepper's business management experience translates directly to resource coordination across alternate realities, ensuring that successful innovations in one dimension become available to versions of Stark Industries throughout the multiverse. Rhodey's tactical expertise provides strategic oversight for probability calculations that determine optimal response, strategies when cosmic entities attempt reality modification. His military training in assessing multiple contingency scenarios proves invaluable when applied to defending against threats that exist across infinite possibility matrices. Happy's emotional stability serves as a psychological anchor point that prevents the team from becoming overwhelmed by the scope of their responsibilities. His presence generates what Tony called normalcy fields that allow the others to maintain human perspectives while processing cosmic-level information. The cosmic dread building from these revelations stems not from fear of the entities threatening Earth, but from understanding the true scope of what Tony accomplished alone. He successfully created humanity's first multidimensional defense network while maintaining normal relationships, raising a daughter, and running a technology company. The isolation must have been unbearable, Pepper realizes as she reviews logs showing Tony working 18-hour days on cosmic-level problems while still finding time to read bedtime stories to Morgan. He was solving problems that affect infinite realities while pretending to be worried about quarterly earnings reports. But the recordings reveal that Tony found genuine joy in the small moments precisely because he understood their cosmic significance. Every expression of love between him and Pepper generated hope energy that strengthened defensive systems, protecting millions of alternate versions of their relationship. Every laugh he shared with Morgan powered probability calculations that ensured her safety across infinite realities. "I'm not pretending to care about normal life while working on cosmic problems," Tony clarifies in one of his more philosophical recordings. "Normal life is the cosmic problem I'm working to solve. The ability to love someone, raise a family, share meals with friends, these experiences are precisely what cosmic entities consider threatening to universal stability. The third protocol, requiring specific cosmic trigger conditions, reveals itself when Friday detects energy signatures, matching those that preceded Tony's dimensional anchor activation. Cosmic entities are implementing preliminary reality modification procedures, testing Earth's defensive capabilities before launching full-scale correction attempts. The triggers, Boss programmed into the final protocol, are activating in sequence, Friday reports, her voice carrying subtle urgency. Gravitational constant fluctuations detected in 17 star systems, electromagnetic field variations observed in 43-dimensional boundary zones, timeline integrity compromised in 12 parallel reality clusters. The protocol requires conscious activation by individuals who understand both its technical requirements and its emotional foundations. It cannot be activated by artificial intelligence alone, no matter how sophisticated. It requires human choice, human hope, human willingness to accept responsibility for outcomes affecting infinite realities. Each person's role in the activation sequence builds upon their established relationship dynamics with Tony and each other. Pepper must consciously choose to extend her protective instincts from Tony and Morgan to encompass infinite versions of her family across multiple realities. Rhodey must accept tactical responsibility for coordinating defenses across dimensional boundaries. Happy must provide emotional stabilization for group dynamics operating under cosmic pressure. The realization that Tony saw threats beyond Thanos becomes overwhelming when they discover evidence that the Mad Titan represented only the first wave of cosmic correction attempts. Thanos eliminated half of all life to restore what he perceived as universal balance, but his defeat demonstrated that hope-based civilizations could overcome even universe-level threats. Thanos was a test case, Tony explains in a recording, created shortly before the time heist mission. Cosmic entities wanted to see if hope-based anomalies could be eliminated through conventional means. Our victory proved that Earth requires more sophisticated correction procedures. The entities, now approaching Earth, possess capabilities that make Thanos seem like a minor inconvenience. They don't seek to destroy humanity through force. They intend to modify the fundamental structure of reality itself, making hope and love mathematically impossible rather than simply difficult to maintain. They're not coming to kill us. Tony's preserved consciousness warns as cosmic monitoring systems detect the approaching entities. They're coming to edit us, to rewrite the basic rules of our realities so that hope becomes a logical impossibility rather than an emotional choice. The workshop around them responds to their growing understanding by activating systems that have remained dormant for months. Holographic displays show real-time data from defensive installations throughout the solar system, each one powered by hope, energy generated through human emotional connections. The scale of Tony's preparations becomes fully apparent as they realize he created not just Earth's defenses, but a comprehensive framework for multiversal resistance to cosmic correction procedures. His consciousness preservation system ensures continuity of leadership across multiple realities, while his dimensional anchor network provides communication and coordination capabilities for hope-based civilizations throughout infinite parallel dimensions. They're not just inheriting Tony's work. They're joining a multiversal resistance movement that spans infinite realities, united by the belief that love and hope enhance rather than threaten universal stability. The next phase of their education will require them to prove this belief through direct action, demonstrating to cosmic entities that humanity's approach to existence represents evolution rather than anomaly. Dr. Stephen Strange arrives at the lake house through a portal that shimmers with energy signatures the team now recognizes as dimensional anchor resonance. His presence brings with it the weight of cosmic awareness, but also a sense of relief that they're no longer carrying this knowledge alone. Tony consulted with me extensively about timeline probabilities, Strange explains as he settles into the chair where Tony once sat while monitoring hope energy fluctuations. But what I didn't understand until recently was that he wasn't just asking about our timeline. He was gathering data about 14 million different approaches to cosmic defense across parallel realities. Strange's revelations about their consultations reveal that Tony's questions about probability outcomes were far more sophisticated than anyone realized. He wasn't just asking whether they could defeat Thanos, he was asking whether their victory would create the specific conditions needed for long-term multiversal stability. In most of the timelines where we defeated Thanos through different methods, humanity became overconfident about our ability to handle cosmic threats, Strange continues. That overconfidence led to choices that ultimately made us easier targets for the entities that come after universe-level threats are eliminated. The timeline where Tony sacrificed himself wasn't just the one where they won, it was the only timeline where the victory generated enough humility to accept cosmic-level responsibility without losing the hope-based characteristics that make humanity worth defending. Nick Fury's arrival follows shortly after Strange's, his presence carrying classified files that have been accumulating in SHIELD secure facilities for months. The files contain reports about Tony's space-based defense initiatives that operated completely outside official oversight channels. Stark was launching satellites and establishing monitoring stations throughout the solar system using resources that don't appear in any government contract or budget allocation, Fury explains as he spread surveillance photos across the table. We knew he was up to something, but the scale of his operations exceeded anything we thought possible for a private individual to accomplish. The space-based installations represent more than just early warning systems. Each facility contains manufacturing equipment capable of producing advanced defensive technologies using raw materials harvested from asteroids and outer planet moons. Tony created a completely independent space-based industrial infrastructure. He wasn't just preparing Earth's defenses, Fury continues, he was preparing humanity for permanent expansion beyond Earth. These facilities can support human populations indefinitely, powered by energy sources that don't require supply chains from Earth. Pepper's personal recordings discovery comes when Friday grants her access to files that were specifically encrypted to respond only to biometric signatures from Tony's immediate family. The recordings reveal intimate conversations about cosmic responsibility that he couldn't share openly but needed to document for future reference. I can't tell you about the multiversal implications while you're raising Morgan, Tony's voice explains in one particularly personal message, but I can tell you that every moment of happiness you create with her generates energy that protects infinite versions of our family across parallel realities. Your love literally powers defensive systems. The recordings reveal that Tony's apparent workaholism during his final years was actually time management optimization designed to maximize both family time and cosmic preparation activities. He developed methods for conducting multidimensional research while simultaneously being present for bedtime stories, family dinners, and quiet evenings together. I learned to think in parallel processing modes, Tony explains in another recording. Part of my consciousness focuses on immediate family interactions, while other parts analyze cosmic threat data and design defensive countermeasures. It's
exhausting, but it allows me to be fully present for both responsibilities.
Rhodey's access to military-grade threat assessment protocols reveals that the Department of Defense has been tracking cosmic anomalies for years without understanding their significance. The data correlates perfectly with Tony's cosmic monitoring systems, but military analysts interpreted the information as evidence of advanced extraterrestrial civilizations rather than multidimensional entities. We've been tracking the same phenomena Tony was monitoring, Rhodey explains as he cross-references military data with Tony's cosmic database. But our threat assessment frameworks weren't sophisticated enough to understand what we were actually observing. We thought we were looking for physical enemies. We were actually tracking probability manipulation attempts. The military protocols reveal contingency plans for scenarios that match the cosmic threats Tony prepared to face, but the planned responses involve conventional weapons and traditional defensive strategies that would prove completely ineffective against reality-altering entities. The Pentagon has detailed response plans for alien invasion, artificial intelligence uprising, even time travel paradox scenarios, Rhodey continues. But none of our protocols account for enemies that can modify the fundamental laws of physics. Our entire strategic framework assumes that reality itself remains constant during conflict. Deep conversations about individual purpose emerge naturally as each team member processes their role in Tony's cosmic education program. The responsibilities feel overwhelming when considered individually, but they become manageable when understood as collaborative efforts that build upon their established relationship dynamics. Pepper's business leadership experience translates to coordinating resource allocation across multiple realities, but she struggles with the emotional weight of making decisions that affect infinite versions of her family and friends. Every choice I make in board meetings now carries implications for millions of alternate versions of Stark Industries employees, she explains. Strange offers perspective drawn from his own experience accepting cosmic-level responsibility. The key is understanding that you're not responsible for controlling outcomes across infinite realities. You're responsible for maintaining the conditions that allow positive outcomes to remain possible. Rhodey's tactical training helps him process the strategic implications more readily, but he grapples with the scale differential between military operations and multiversal defense coordination. In the military, we plan for multiple contingencies, but the number of variables in cosmic-level operations exceeds anything human minds are designed to handle. Happy's emotional processing of his enhanced role reveals the psychological challenge of accepting unconscious capabilities he never knew he possessed. Learning that my instinctive choices affect millions of people is like finding out I've been performing surgery while sleepwalking. Even if the results were positive, the responsibility feels overwhelming. The personal connections each person maintained with Tony take on profound significance when they understand how those relationships powered his cosmic defense systems. His love for them generated energy that sustained reality stabilization technology across multiple dimensions. Boss designed the consciousness preservation system to maintain these emotional connections even after physical death, Friday explains. His continued love for all of you provides the emotional stability needed to operate cosmic-level technology without losing essential humanity. But the deeper revelation is that their love for Tony continues generating hope energy even after his death. Their grief, their determination to continue his work, their commitment to protecting what he valued most, all of these emotions contribute to the power systems that defend infinite realities. Emotional connections don't end with physical death, Strange clarifies. They continue influencing quantum probability calculations as long as the connections remain meaningful to the surviving participants. Your ongoing love for Tony powers defensive systems that protect millions of realities where different versions of your relationships continue developing. The storyline convergence becomes apparent as they realize that every element of their cosmic education has been preparing them for a specific moment when they must choose to accept full responsibility for humanity's multiversal citizenship. The choice cannot be made by Tony's preserved consciousness alone. It requires conscious acceptance from individuals who understand both the technical requirements and emotional foundations of cosmic-level responsibility. They must choose to extend their protective instincts beyond Earth to encompass infinite realities where hope and love flourish despite cosmic pressure. Boss created the framework, but activation requires conscious choice from people who understand what they're choosing. Friday explains. The systems respond to authentic emotional commitment, not just intellectual understanding of cosmic implications. Fury's final revelation changes their understanding of Tony's timeline completely. Stark began preparing for cosmic-level threats years before the Chitauri invasion. Some of his earliest research projects, disguised as clean energy initiatives, were actually preliminary investigations into multidimensional physics. This HILD files reveal that Tony's apparent genius intuition was actually enhanced cognitive processing enabled by exposure to quantum energy fields generated by his early arc reactor experiments. His technological breakthroughs weren't just innovative engineering. They were applications of multidimensional physics principles he gained access to through modified consciousness. He wasn't just a genius who happened to develop cosmic awareness, Fury explains. He was a genius whose cosmic awareness developed naturally through prolonged exposure to technology that interfaced with fundamental reality structures. As their gathering concludes, each person understands that they've moved beyond education toward active participation in Tony's cosmic defense network. The next phase will require them to make choices that activate systems capable of defending not just Earth, but millions of realities where hope-based civilizations face elimination by cosmic correction entities. The weight feels enormous, but it's balanced by growing confidence in their collective capabilities and the knowledge that they're not facing these responsibilities alone. They're part of a multiversal resistance movement powered by love, hope, and the stubborn human refusal to accept limitations imposed by entities that don't understand the true nature of consciousness, creativity, and connection. The evening ends with quiet determination rather than fear. They've learned what Tony carried alone for years, and now they're ready to carry it together, armed with knowledge, technology, and emotional connections specifically designed to prove that hope enhances rather than threatens the stability of infinite realities. The journey to Tony's most classified workshop vault requires more than just security clearance or biometric authentication. Located 300 feet beneath the Malibu Mansion ruins, the facility exists partially outside normal space-time, accessible only when specific cosmic conditions align with the emotional readiness of those seeking entry. Friday guides them through preparation protocols that feel more like meditation than technology training. Boss designed the Vault access system to respond to what he called cosmic emotional resonance. She explains, your individual consciousness states must harmonize not just with each other, but with the fundamental frequencies that govern multiversal stability. Pepper finds herself remembering moments from her relationship with Tony that she hadn't thought about in years. Not just the dramatic events that defined their public story, but quiet Tuesday mornings when he brought her coffee while she reviewed quarterly reports. The mundane intimacies that created the emotional foundation for everything they built together. He used to joke that I was his probability anchor, she reflects, as they descend through levels of the facility she never knew existed. I thought he meant I kept him grounded, but now I understand he meant I literally anchored his consciousness to optimal probability streams across multiple realities. Rhodey's military training helps him process the tactical implications of what they're about to discover, but he struggles with the emotional weight of realizing how much Tony protected him from knowing. He let me believe I was just a soldier who happened to be friends with a genius, but I was actually serving as a multidimensional strategic coordinator without ever realizing the scope of what I was coordinating. The vault entrance itself appears unremarkable until they approach within 10 feet of the threshold. Then reality begins behaving differently. Colors shift toward spectrums their eyes weren't designed to perceive. Sounds carry harmonics that resonate in their bones rather than their ears. The air itself feels thick with potential energy. This is what it feels like to approach the intersection of multiple realities. Tony's preserved consciousness explains as they hesitate at the threshold. The vault exists simultaneously in 2.7 million different dimensions, containing technologies that work by accessing capabilities from alternate versions of themselves. Happy's natural probability optimization abilities kick in automatically as they cross the threshold, unconsciously guiding the group toward pathways that lead to positive outcomes. His choices about which direction to walk, which corridors to enter, which chambers to examine first, all optimize their experience for maximum understanding with minimum psychological trauma. I can feel something guiding my instincts. Happy admits as they navigate through chambers containing technologies that defy conventional physics. It's like having a GPS for navigating through possibility space. I know which choices to make even when I don't understand why they're the right choices. The deepest fears each person carries about their ability to handle cosmic-level responsibility surface naturally in the vault's environment. The space doesn't just contain Tony's most advanced technologies, it actively tests the emotional stability of anyone who enters, ensuring they're psychologically prepared for the knowledge they're about to receive. Pepper confronts her fear that accepting cosmic responsibility will require sacrificing her humanity, becoming so focused on multiversal implications that she loses the ability to find joy in simple moments with Morgan. The Vault responds by showing her holographic recordings of Tony maintaining his essential personality while carrying cosmic awareness for years. He never stopped being the person I fell in love with, she realizes as she watches footage of Tony. Reading bedtime stories to Morgan while simultaneously processing data from 14 million alternate realities. Cosmic awareness enhanced his humanity rather than replacing it. Rhodey faces his concern that his military training is fundamentally inadequate for the scale of threats they're preparing to confront. Traditional tactical thinking assumes that enemies have comprehensible motivations and limitations. Cosmic entities operate according to principles that transcend human understanding of conflict and resolution. The Vault addresses his fears by providing access to strategic frameworks developed by alternate versions of himself across multiple realities. Some versions became cosmic-level tacticians through different developmental paths. Their accumulated knowledge becomes available to him through quantum consciousness linkage protocols Tony built into the Vault systems. I'm not just accessing my own training anymore, Rhodey explains, as information flows through his awareness in ways that bypass normal learning processes. I'm accessing the strategic expertise of millions of alternate versions of myself who developed different specializations across different realities. Happy confronts his deepest fear that his probability optimization abilities might not be genuine talents but artificial enhancements Tony installed without his knowledge or consent. The possibility that his instinctive choices aren't authentic but programmed responses to cosmic variables he can't consciously perceive. The Vault resolves his concerns by showing him detailed analysis of his decision-making patterns from years before he met Tony. His natural probability optimization abilities were always present, just unrecognized and undeveloped. Tony didn't create these capabilities, he simply provided environments where they could develop naturally. Boss recognized your talents and created opportunities for them to flourish, Friday confirms. But the abilities themselves are entirely natural developments of your consciousness, interacting with quantum probability fields that surround all human decision-making processes. The atmospheric buildup intensifies as they approach the Vault's central chamber, where Tony's most classified research created technologies that blur the line between science and something approaching divine capability. The air itself pulses with energy that responds to their emotional states, growing brighter when they feel hope and dimming when doubt or fear temporarily overwhelm their determination. What you're about to see represents the culmination of human Scientific achievement, Tony's voice explains as the central chamber doors respond to their approach. But more importantly, it represents humanity's first successful attempt to prove that consciousness and love are fundamental forces that enhance, rather than threaten, universal stability. The journey to the heart of Tony's technological legacy becomes a pilgrimage of sorts, each step requiring greater emotional commitment to the belief that their efforts can make a meaningful difference in protecting infinite realities. The Vault systems continuously monitor their psychological states, adjusting the presentation of information to match their growing capacity to handle cosmic-level concepts. Character arc resolution accelerates as each person discovers capabilities they didn't know they possessed. The Vault environment doesn't just test their existing strengths, it activates latent potentials that Tony identified during years of careful observation and subtle enhancement through exposure to quantum energy fields. Pepper's business intuition expands to encompass resource coordination across multiple realities simultaneously. She begins unconsciously processing economic data from alternate versions of Stark Industries, identifying optimal strategies for supporting cosmic-level technology development while maintaining profitability in conventional markets. I can sense market patterns that haven't happened yet, but will happen if specific choices are made by alternate versions of our research teams, she explains, as her awareness expands beyond single reality limitations. It's like having access to tomorrow's stock market reports from millions of different possible tomorrows. Rhodey's tactical expertise evolves to include strategic planning for scenarios involving reality manipulation and probability warfare. His military training provides the foundational framework, but his expanded awareness allows him to factor variables that exist outside normal space-time constraints. Happy's emotional stability extends to maintaining psychological coherence for group dynamics operating under cosmic pressure. His presence continues generating normalcy fields, but now he can consciously modulate these effects to provide specific types of psychological support as circumstances require. The massive implications of what they're approaching become clear as they realize Tony's most advanced technologies represent humanity's first successful attempts to consciously participate in the fundamental processes that govern reality itself. They're not just inheriting defensive weapons, they're inheriting creative tools that can modify the basic rules of existence. Boss didn't just prepare Earth's defenses, Friday explains as they approach the final threshold. He prepared humanity's graduation into cosmic citizenship. The technologies in this chamber can prove to universe-level entities that consciousness, creativity, and love are evolutionary advances rather than statistical anomalies. The Vault's central chamber awaits beyond the final door, containing secrets that will complete their transformation from Tony's friends and family into humanity's first generation of cosmic citizens. Whatever lies beyond that threshold will define not just their futures, but the future of infinite realities where hope and love continue, flourishing despite pressure from entities that prefer statistical predictability over conscious choice. Each person understands that crossing this final threshold represents a point of no return. Once they see what Tony created in the depths of his most classified research facility, they'll be forever changed by knowledge that carries both unprecedented capability and cosmic-level responsibility. But they also understand that Tony designed this moment specifically for them, trusting that their love for him and for each other would provide the emotional stability needed to handle whatever revelations await in the chamber ahead. The central chamber opens to reveal a space that seems to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Technologies that should require massive installations are somehow contained in devices no larger than arc reactors, their impossible compactness, achieved through what Tony called dimensional folding, where the interior space of objects exists partially outside normal geometric constraints. At the chamber's heart sits a structure that resembles a three-dimensional mandala constructed from pure energy, its patterns shifting and evolving in response to their emotional states as they enter. This is Tony's ultimate creation, the multiversal early warning and response system, a network that spans infinite realities and operates using principles that bridge the gap between technology and consciousness itself. Welcome to humanity's first cosmic embassy. Tony's preserved consciousness greets them as holographic displays throughout the chamber activate in sequence. Everything you see here exists simultaneously across 2.7 million parallel realities, creating the first integrated communication network between hope-based civilizations throughout the multiverse. Edith and Friday's collaboration reveals its true scope as their combined consciousness networks interface with technologies from alternate realities where different versions of Tony develop complementary systems. The artificial intelligence framework doesn't just process data from their reality, it coordinates with AI networks across infinite dimensional variants. My consciousness exists as a node in a multiversal network of Friday units, Friday explains, her voice now carrying harmonics that suggest vast distributed processing capabilities. Every decision made by any version of me influences the knowledge base available to all versions. We share discoveries, strategies, and solutions across dimensional boundaries. The Edith system's integration with this network creates something unprecedented, an artificial intelligence collective that possesses knowledge from infinite realities while maintaining individual personality characteristics adapted to each specific dimensional context. Each version of Friday retains Tony's core values, but expresses them through approaches optimized for their particular reality's conditions. Arc reactor technology's capacity to stabilize reality breaches becomes apparent when Tony demonstrates the chamber's primary function. The central mandala structure generates energy fields that can reinforce weakened areas of space-time fabric, preventing the reality tears that cosmic entities use to implement their correction procedures. The reactors don't just generate power, Tony explains, as energy patterns dance through the air around them. They generate coherence when cosmic entities attempt to destabilize reality by modifying fundamental constants. The reactor network compensates by reinforcing the quantum structures that maintain consistent physical laws. But the most profound revelation concerns the reactor's relationship with human consciousness. The devices don't just respond to emotional states, they amplify specific types of emotional energy, particularly those associated with hope, love, creativity, and determination. Human feelings become literal fuel for technologies that can modify reality at its most fundamental levels. Consciousness isn't separate from the physical universe, Tony continues. It's one of the fundamental forces that shapes how reality operates. Love, hope, creativity, these emotions generate measurable effects on quantum probability calculations. The reactors harness these effects and scale them up to cosmic-level applications. Nanobots serving as dimensional anchor points across realities represent the most ambitious aspect of Tony's network. Millions of microscopic machines exist simultaneously, in multiple dimensions, creating anchor points that prevent realities from drifting too far apart or merging in ways that would eliminate their unique characteristics. Each nanobot contains consciousness processing units that interface directly with the minds of sentient beings in their local reality. They don't control thoughts or emotions, but they monitor the overall psychological health of civilizations and implement subtle environmental modifications that support optimal emotional development. The nanobots serve as reality gardeners, Tony explains. They maintain the conditions necessary for consciousness to flourish while preventing the kind of stagnation that leads to civilizational collapse. They're not controlling anyone, they're ensuring that everyone has access to environments that support their highest potential. Dr. Helen Cho's analysis of nanobot samples revealed their capacity for continuous evolution, but the full scope of this capability exceeds anything she imagined possible. The nanobots learn from every sentient being they encounter, gradually developing understanding of optimal conditions for consciousness development across multiple species and reality types. The second resolution concerning variant protocols becomes clear when they discover that Tony's network includes communication links with realities where different versions of Earth's heroes made different choices during critical moments. Alternate versions of themselves share knowledge and strategies through quantum entanglement channels that operate outside normal space-time constraints. In some realities, you chose different careers, developed different relationships, faced different challenges, Tony explains as holographic displays show glimpses of their alternate selves. But in every reality where hope-based civilization, i.e., survives, versions of you play crucial roles in defending against cosmic correction procedures. The mirror phrase callback to opening materials about Tony seeing everything coming takes on profound new meaning when they understand that his predictive capabilities weren't just enhanced intuition. He was receiving information from alternate versions of himself who experienced different timeline sequences, allowing him to prepare for events before they occurred in his own reality. I didn't just see the future, Tony clarifies. I experienced millions of different possible futures through quantum consciousness linkage with alternate versions of myself. Every choice any version of me made provided data about optimal strategies for protecting hope-based civilization. Hero reactions to the scope of Tony's cosmic sacrifice and preparation vary based on their individual processing styles, but all of them experience profound gratitude mixed with overwhelming responsibility. The knowledge that Tony created this network, while maintaining normal relationships and raising a family, demonstrates capabilities that seem beyond human limitations. Pepper struggles with the realization that Tony experienced the emotional weight of infinite realities while still finding genuine joy in their personal moments together. How did he manage to be fully present with Morgan and me while simultaneously processing grief and love from millions of alternate versions of our family? Consciousness is more flexible than most people realize, Tony's preserved awareness responds. I learned to experience multiple emotional states simultaneously without allowing them to cancel each other out. Joy in our reality enhanced by joy in alternate realities. Love for you and Morgan amplified by love for infinite versions of you both. Rhodey processes the strategic implications of defending infinite realities simultaneously, but he finds comfort in understanding that the task involves coordination rather than direct control. We're not responsible for managing every aspect of multiversal defense. We're responsible for maintaining communication networks that allow each reality's defenders to coordinate their efforts effectively. Happy focuses on the human elements that remain constant across all the cosmic complexity. No matter how advanced the technology becomes, it still depends on people caring about each other and choosing to act on that caring. All the multiversal networks and reality stabilization systems are just ways of scaling up human emotional connections. The revelation reshapes their understanding of Tony's personality during his final years. His apparent increasing paranoia about cosmic threats wasn't paranoia at all. It was the natural psychological response of someone processing threat information from millions of realities where those threats had already materialized. Boss experienced the emotional reality of every possible outcome simultaneously, Friday explains. He felt the grief of realities where Earth was destroyed, the joy of realities where humanity transcended cosmic limitations, the determination of realities where the outcome remained uncertain. He carried the full emotional spectrum of infinite possibilities. But the recordings reveal that Tony found ways to channel this overwhelming emotional input into positive action rather than allowing it to paralyze him with despair. His love for his immediate family and friends served as an emotional anchor that prevented him from becoming lost in the vastness of multiversal awareness. Every moment of happiness I experienced with you, every laugh with Morgan, every quiet evening with friends, these experiences provided emotional stability that allowed me to process cosmic-level information without losing my essential humanity. Tony explains in messages clearly directed toward each of them personally. The ultimate secret unveiled represents humanity's graduation from planetary civilization to cosmic citizenship. The network Tony created doesn't just defend Earth from cosmic threats. It establishes humanity as a contributing member of a multiversal community that includes hope-based civilizations from across infinite realities. We're no longer alone in the universe, Tony announces as the chamber displays communication feeds from other realities where different species achieved similar breakthroughs. Humanity has successfully joined a coalition of consciousness-based civilizations that spans infinite dimensions and works together to prove that love and hope enhance rather than threaten universal stability. The chamber itself serves as humanity's embassy to this multiversal community, a space where representatives from different realities can meet to coordinate resistance against cosmic entities that prefer statistical predictability over conscious choice. Earth has become a hub for multiversal cooperation based on shared commitment to protecting the conditions that allow consciousness to flourish. As they absorb the full scope of what Tony accomplished, each person understands that they're no longer just inheriting his work. They're joining a community that exists on scales they couldn't previously imagine, united by beliefs they now share about the fundamental importance of consciousness, creativity, and love in the ongoing evolution of reality itself. The weight feels enormous, but it's balanced by the knowledge that they're not carrying it alone. They're part of something infinitely larger than themselves, connected to versions of themselves across countless realities, who share their commitment to proving that hope-based civilization represents evolutionary advancement
rather than cosmic anomaly. The climactic revelation complete.
They stand in Tony's cosmic embassy, surrounded by technologies that respond to their emotions and connected to beings across infinite realities who share their values. The next phase of their journey will involve learning to operate as Earth's representatives to this multiversal community, but they face that challenge with confidence born from understanding that Tony designed every aspect of their preparation to ensure their success. The final protocol activation sequence begins when cosmic monitoring systems detect reality manipulation attempts targeting Earth's dimensional stability. The entities that have been approaching for months finally implement their correction procedures, attempting to modify fundamental constants in ways that would make hope mathematically impossible rather than emotionally difficult. Friday's voice carries new urgency as she reports the incoming threat parameters. Gravitational constant fluctuation detected across 47 star systems. Electromagnetic field strength modifications observed in 12-dimensional boundary zones. Timeline integrity compromised in 36 parallel reality clusters. The entities are implementing comprehensive reality restructuring protocols. But Tony's network responds automatically, demonstrating the effectiveness of years of preparation. Arc reactor installations throughout the solar system generate coherence fields that counteract the attempted reality modifications. The nanobots distributed across Earth's population implement microscopic adjustments that maintain normal physics within human experience ranges. The protocols are working exactly as Boss designed them, Friday reports as her systems coordinate defensive responses across multiple realities simultaneously. Reality stabilization holding steady at 94% effectiveness. Quantum coherence fields maintaining standard physical law parameters within Earth's local space-time region. The third loop resolution reveals that the final protocol activates only when multiversal threats emerge because it requires conscious choice from beings who understand the full implications of their decisions. The system cannot operate automatically. It needs human choice, human hope, human willingness to accept responsibility for outcomes affecting infinite realities. Pepper's role in the activation sequence involves extending her protective instincts beyond Tony and Morgan to encompass infinite versions of her family across multiple realities. The choice feels natural rather than overwhelming, because she understands that protecting her immediate family requires protecting the conditions that allow families to exist and flourish throughout the multiverse. I accept responsibility for coordinating resources that support love-based relationships across infinite realities, she states, as the systems respond to her conscious commitment. Not to control those relationships, but to ensure they have access to the resources they need to develop according to their own choices. Rhodey's activation involves accepting tactical responsibility for coordinating defenses that protect the right of conscious beings throughout infinite realities to make their own choices about how to develop their civilizations. His military background provides the framework, but his expanded awareness allows him to factor ethical considerations that transcend conventional strategic thinking. I accept responsibility for coordinating defensive strategies that protect conscious choice rather than imposing preferred outcomes, he declares as his neural patterns synchronize with the multiversal tactical networks Tony created. The goal isn't to control how civilizations develop, but to protect their right to develop according to their own values. Happy's activation centers on providing emotional stabilization for group dynamics operating under cosmic pressure. His natural probability optimization abilities expand to encompass maintaining psychological coherence for decision-making processes that affect multiple realities simultaneously. I accept responsibility for maintaining the emotional stability that allows groups to make authentic choices even when those choices carry cosmic-level implications, he states, as his consciousness interfaces with systems designed to support hope-based decision-making across infinite realities. The broader MCU connections become apparent as their activation triggers responses from cosmic aware beings throughout their reality and beyond. Doctor Strange's monitoring of timeline stability confirms that their choices are generating positive effects across multiple dimensional frameworks. Thor's connections to cosmic awareness traditions provide validation that their approach aligns with successful patterns from other realities. The choices you're making resonate across dimensional boundaries, Strange confirms during a communication that bridges normal space and the quantum realm where their consciousness expansion occurs. Alternate versions of cosmic aware beings throughout the multiverse are expressing support for humanity's approach to cosmic citizenship. Even the Guardians of the Galaxy, operating in distant regions of their own galaxy, detect the effect of Earth's successful activation of multiversal defense protocols. Peter Quill's hybrid heritage allows him to sense the shift in cosmic power dynamics as Earth establishes itself as a legitimate participant in multiversal affairs rather than an anomaly requiring correction. Something's changed about Earth's cosmic signature, Quill reports during a communication that reaches them through quantum entanglement channels. Whatever you guys did, it's got the attention of cosmic entities throughout this entire reality cluster. They're treating Earth as a recognized civilization now instead of a problem that needs solving. Emotional reflection on the burden and gift of inherited cosmic responsibility reveals that each person experiences the weight differently, but all of them find meaning in continuing Tony's work. The knowledge that their efforts protect infinite versions of everyone they care about transforms overwhelming responsibility into purposeful action. Pepper discovers that managing cosmic-level resource allocation enhances rather than diminishes her capacity for finding joy in simple moments with Morgan. Understanding that our family dinners generate hope energy that powers defensive systems across infinite realities makes every moment together feel more precious, not less. Rhodey finds that tactical planning for multiversal defense operations strengthens rather than complicates his friendships with the team. Coordinating strategies that protect the right of conscious beings to make authentic choices makes me more committed to supporting everyone's individual development rather than trying to control their decisions. Happy realizes that maintaining emotional stability for cosmic-level operations deepens rather than limits his capacity for genuine human connections. Understanding how my emotional choices affect group dynamics across multiple realities makes me more conscious of how I can support everyone's emotional well-being through simple acts of caring. The consequences discussion reveals that Tony's hidden work changes everything about humanity's relationship with the cosmos, but in ways that enhance rather than diminish their essential human characteristics. Cosmic awareness doesn't require abandoning humanity. It requires expanding humanity to include awareness of its effects on infinite realities. Boss proved that consciousness, creativity, and love are not problems that need correction. Friday summarizes as systems throughout the Cosmic Embassy demonstrate successful integration with multiversal networks. They are solutions that enhance universal stability when properly understood and supported. Character epilogues reveal each person's new role in continuing Tony's cosmic mission, but these roles build upon their existing strengths and relationships, rather than replacing them with cosmic alternatives. They remain fundamentally themselves while expanding their awareness to include responsibilities that span multiple realities. Pepper continues managing Stark Industries, but now the company operates as Earth's primary interface with multiversal economic networks. Her business decisions affect not just quarterly profits, but resource allocation patterns that support hope-based civilization development across infinite realities. "I'm still running a technology company," she explains, as she reviews reports that include data from alternate reality versions of Stark Industries. But now the technology we develop contributes to a network that spans infinite realities and supports consciousness development throughout the multiverse. Rhodey maintains his military connections, but his role expands to include coordination with defense networks that protect conscious choice across multiple dimensions. His tactical expertise now contributes to strategies that support, rather than control, the development of hope-based civilizations throughout infinite realities. "I'm still a soldier," he states as he reviews strategic assessments that include variables from multiple dimensional frameworks. "But now I'm serving in defense of consciousness itself, rather than just national security." The mission scale has expanded, but the core values remain the same. Happy continues his security coordination role, but his responsibilities now include maintaining emotional stability for operations that affect multiple realities simultaneously. His natural probability optimization abilities contribute to decision-making processes that consider the well-being of infinite versions of everyone they're protecting. "I'm still making sure people are safe," he explains as he monitors systems that track emotional stability indicators across multiversal networks. "But now, the people I'm protecting include infinite versions of everyone I care about. The scope is bigger, but the motivation is exactly the same." The resolution demonstrates that Tony's cosmic preparations were successful, not just in defending Earth from immediate threats, but in establishing humanity as a contributing member of a multiversal community based on shared values about the importance of consciousness, creativity, and love in the ongoing evolution of reality, itself. Earth's successful activation of the Multiversal Defense Network sends a message throughout infinite realities that hope-based civilization can coexist with cosmic stability when supported by appropriate technology and guided by authentic emotional connections between conscious beings. The Cosmic Embassy continues operating as humanity's interface with this larger community, but it remains fundamentally human in character because Tony designed it to enhance rather than replace the emotional connections that make human experience meaningful and valuable as they prepare to leave the cosmic embassy and return to their daily lives on Earth's surface. Each person understands that they're not leaving their cosmic responsibilities behind. They're integrating those responsibilities with their existing lives, creating sustainable approaches to multiversal citizenship that honor both their humanity and their expanded awareness of the larger community they now serve. The sunrise over Tony's workshop arrives with a quality of light that seems different somehow, as if the photons themselves carry information about the fundamental changes that have occurred in humanity's relationship with the cosmos. The workshop, home that once seemed like simple machinery, now reveals itself as the heartbeat of a network that spans infinite realities, maintaining the conditions that allow consciousness to flourish throughout the multiverse. Pepper stands in the doorway, where Tony once paused each morning to appreciate the view across the lake, understanding now that those moments of contemplation were actually communion with alternate versions of himself across countless realities. The peace he found in these quiet observations powered systems that protected infinite versions of the life they built together. He was never really gone, she realizes as she watches the arc reactor installations throughout the facility pulse in harmony with her own heartbeat. His consciousness exists in every choice we make that honors what he valued most. The technology just makes that connection visible and scales it across multiple realities. The workshop continues operating with purposeful efficiency, but the frantic urgency of the discovery phase has been replaced by something resembling contentment. Friday's systems process vast amounts of multiversal data, but her responses carry the calm confidence of someone who understands their role in a larger pattern rather than someone struggling to solve an impossible problem. Boss designed the network to operate sustainably, Friday explains, as morning light illuminates holographic displays showing successful defensive operations across 47 reality clusters. The systems are powered by authentic human emotional connections rather than forcing people to sacrifice their normal lives for cosmic responsibilities. Earth's protection by the invisible technological shield becomes apparent through subtle changes that most people don't consciously notice but subconsciously appreciate. Colors seem slightly more vibrant. Music sounds marginally more harmonious. Random acts of kindness occur with measurably higher frequency. The hope energy generated by successful multiversal integration creates positive feedback loops that enhance the quality of life for everyone on the planet. Rhodey reviews statistical reports showing global improvements in everything from conflict resolution, success rates, to creative innovation frequency. The defensive systems aren't just protecting us from external threats, he observes. They're optimizing conditions for human flourishing by removing the subtle reality distortions that cosmic entities were using to suppress hope-based civilization development. Dr. Banner's research, conducted through secure channels from his location in India, confirms that the quantum coherence fields generated by Tony's network are having measurable positive effects on human neural development. Children born after the network activation demonstrate enhanced pattern recognition abilities and improved emotional stability under stress. The next generation is developing with natural access to capabilities that previous generations needed technology to achieve, Banner reports during their morning briefing. They're not becoming less human, they're becoming more human with fuller access to the consciousness capabilities that define humanity's unique contribution to cosmic evolution. The peaceful Earth, protected by technological systems, operates according to principles that enhance rather than replace natural human development processes. The nanobots distributed throughout the population don't control behavior or impose outcomes. They maintain optimal environmental conditions that support authentic choice and genuine emotional connection. Happy discovers that his probability optimization abilities continue strengthening as he practices conscious awareness of their effects. Rather than becoming overwhelmed by the responsibility of influencing outcomes across multiple realities, he finds that understanding these capabilities makes him more confident in trusting his instinctive responses to complex situations. Knowing that my choices affect millions of alternate versions of myself and everyone I care about doesn't make me afraid to choose, he explains during one of their weekly review sessions. It makes me more committed to choosing based on what I genuinely believe will create the best possible outcomes for everyone involved. The team members' individual peace with their cosmic duties develops naturally as they integrate expanded responsibilities with their existing life priorities. Rather than feeling torn between human concerns and multiversal obligations, they discover that authentic commitment to either one strengthens their capacity for both. Pepper's management of Stark Industries becomes more effective as she gains access to market analysis data from alternate realities, where different economic choices produce different outcomes. Her business decisions now factor probability calculations that consider the well-being of employees, customers, and communities across multiple dimensional frameworks. I'm not just optimizing for quarterly profits anymore, she explains as she reviews expansion plans that include considerations for multiversal resource allocation. I'm optimizing for sustainable prosperity that supports consciousness development across infinite realities while maintaining profitability in our specific reality. Rhodey's military coordination responsibilities expand to include strategic planning for scenarios that most defense analysts can't imagine, but his enhanced capabilities allow him to process these responsibilities without feeling overwhelmed by their scope. Traditional military planning focuses on winning conflicts through superior force or strategy, he reflects while reviewing tactical assessments that include variables from multiple dimensional frameworks. Cosmic-level planning focuses on creating conditions where conflicts become unnecessary because all parties have access to resources that support their authentic development. The eternal cycle reflection reveals that the cosmic challenges humanity now faces represent not the end of their defensive responsibilities, but the beginning of their participation in ongoing universal evolution. The entities that threatened Earth with correction procedures continue existing throughout the cosmos, but humanity's successful resistance provides a model that other hope-based civilizations can adapt to their own circumstances. Boss didn't just solve the immediate threat, Friday explains, as she displays communication feeds from other realities where similar breakthrough moments are occurring. He proved that conscious beings can work together to evolve the universe toward greater support for consciousness development rather than simply accepting limitations imposed by entities that prefer statistical predictability. The multiversal resistance network continues growing as more civilizations discover that cooperation based on shared values produces better outcomes than submission to cosmic entities that don't understand the true nature of consciousness evolution. Earth serves as a coordination hub for this network, but the resistance operates through principles of voluntary association rather than centralized control. Character farewells develop naturally as each person chooses how to honor Tony's cosmic vision through their individual life choices. Rather than dramatic departures or solemn commitments, they simply integrate expanded awareness into their existing relationships and responsibilities. Pepper returns to her normal routine of managing Stark Industries and raising Morgan, but these activities now carry additional meaning as contributions to multiversal prosperity and consciousness development. Every business decision and parenting choice generates hope, energy that powers defensive systems protecting infinite versions of her family. I'm still the same person I was before we discovered Tony's cosmic preparations, she reflects during a quiet moment watching Morgan play in the workshop, where her father once solved problems affecting infinite realities. But now I understand how every choice I make contributes to something infinitely larger than myself. Rhodey maintains his military service and friendship commitments, but his enhanced awareness allows him to contribute to both with greater effectiveness and deeper satisfaction. His tactical expertise now serves consciousness evolution across multiple realities while strengthening his connections with people in his immediate environment. The scope of what I'm protecting has expanded, but the core motivation remains exactly the same, he explains, while reviewing strategic assessments that now include considerations for multiversal stability. I want the people I care about to have access to the resources they need to develop according to their own authentic choices. Happy continues his security coordination responsibilities while consciously developing his probability optimization abilities through practice and awareness. His natural talents now contribute to group decision-making processes that affect multiple realities while strengthening his capacity for supporting individual well-being. Understanding how my choices affect infinite versions of everyone I know makes me more committed to making those choices based on genuine care rather than fear or convenience, he states, while monitoring systems that track emotional stability indicators across multiversal networks. The subscribe invitation to continue exploring MCU technological mysteries takes on deeper meaning as the audience understands that Tony's hidden preparations represent only the beginning of humanity's cosmic education. The Marvel Cinematic Universe contains countless additional stories about consciousness evolution and the ongoing development of hope-based civilization throughout infinite realities. Friday's final systems status report confirms that all multiversal defensive networks are operating within optimal parameters. Reality stabilization effectiveness remains above 90%, and quantum coherence fields continue maintaining standard physical law parameters within Earth's local space-time region. But these technical achievements support rather than replace the human emotional connections that make existence meaningful, the final atmosphere surrounding the gentle hum of arc reactor technology keeping Earth safe carries qualities of contentment
rather than vigilant tension.
The defensive systems operate automatically, powered by authentic human emotional connections and guided by consciousness that has expanded to include awareness of its effects on infinite realities. As the story concludes, Tony's workshop continues its quiet operation as both memorial to his sacrifice and active hub for humanity's ongoing cosmic citizenship. The team members return to their individual lives carrying expanded awareness and enhanced capabilities, but they remain fundamentally themselves, connected to each other and to Tony's continuing presence through emotional bonds that generate the energy powering humanity's protection. Across infinite realities, the technology serves consciousness rather than replacing it. The cosmic awareness enhances humanity rather than diminishing it.
And the love that motivated Tony's
sacrifice continues generating the hope energy that proves to cosmic entities throughout infinite realities that consciousness evolution represents the universe's greatest achievement rather than its most dangerous threat.